Hot mic. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. 2, 3.
Miss, when he speaks, it would be essential for whatever you say already have this in their hand, if that's possible. It's for Reese Across America, which we're calling.
Good morning. This is the Gary Sansing Public Forum. Let's hear. David, I hope you're on. You good? For September 16th, 8:30 a.m. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Gary Sansing Public Forum is intended for matters not included on the agenda for the upcoming Board of County Commissioners meeting. Citizens wishing to address items on the agenda should sign up to speak to such item at the regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the Gary Sansing Public Forum. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Our first speaker today, Craig McDonald.
Good morning. I have some information for the county commissioners. My name is Craig McDonald. I'm president of the Kiwanis Club of Big Lagoon. This is Dr. Bob Kincaid, Mr. Jack Knott, Mr. Dare Elias, and Mr. Carl Schwelm, who is also the Marine Corps League. We're here to invite all the county commissioners, all their families, all county employees and their families to an event for Wreaths Across America mobile education exhibit at Veterans Memorial Park on the 2nd of October from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. This is to teach the public about why we placed memorial wreaths on the graves at Barrancas National Cemetery every year. It brings the local community together with veterans, active duty, military, and their families through interactive exhibits, short films, and shared stories. The theme for this event is an official Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans. The Kiwanis Club of Big Lagoon spearheads the placement of the memorial wreaths every year at Barrancas National Cemetery, usually on the second Saturday in December. This year, it's going to be on the 18th of December. In advance, the display is coming down from Maine to educate the public in order for us to try to cover Barrancas 100%. There are 50,000 graves plus at Barrancas National Cemetery. Last year, we were able to cover 19,500. With education to the public, we can possibly cover the entire graveyard every year to honor the veterans, to remember what they did, and to teach our children the cost of freedom. We look forward to you joining us in the event on 2nd of October from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Do we have any questions?
Yes, sir. What's the cost to sponsor a wreath?
I'm sorry?
What's the cost to sponsor a wreath?
One wreath costs $15.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I'll make it to this event and I'll bring a check.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Bring your kids.
Bring your
May I
children.
just add some anecdotes about the Barrancas? There's 151 U.S. colored troops that are buried there. There are 72 Confederate veterans that are buried there. Geronimo's second wife is buried there. We have 3 Medal of Honor people, including Major Steve Pless. I guess there's 4 now. He was added on George Day. Seminole Wars, we have 10 British aviators who died here during their training in World War II. And Private Rosamond Johnson from Korea that we have Johnson's Beach.
And if you don't mind just stating your name again for the record. Just
My name?
Yes, sir.
Carl, K-A-R-L.
Schwelm.
S-C-H-W-E-L-M.
Thank you so much, Carl. Appreciate it.
Carl's the commandant of
Okay.
the Spears Marine Corps League.
Perfect. Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
We look forward to seeing all of you there.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming down this morning. All right, Mr. Welcome.
Good morning. I'd like to give this to Miss Allison Rogers, please. Tim? Thank you, Tim. James Welcome of 502 North Green Street. I hate to keep coming down here, but I'm hoping this would probably not be the last. But anyway, on July the 8th this year, 4 p.m. open forum, I made a request to the BCC that in August agenda to vote on my request to be reimbursed for all my legal fees, to include the mileage and public records request fees associated with the 301 Godwin property case. On July the 22nd meeting, Attorney Allison Rogers stated that she did not notify me about the BCC meeting and presented 3 options before the board. I won't read all those 3 options. But you did recommend option C, which was to dismiss the lawsuit and proactively release the lien on the property. Commissioner Doug Underhill continued to state that there was an option D, and Attorney Rogers corrected him, saying there was no option D. But there should have been an option D, which was also to add to C, but to correct the property ownership. It's still in the county's name, so it should be in my wife and my name. The certificate of title is still in the county's name. And also, I should be able to get my reimbursement for my legal fees, my mileage, and my public records fees for the 301 Godwin case, since that's to make me whole. I'm not 100% whole, and because I'm the prevailing party. And I know if you all were the prevailing party, you would have wanted me to pay the legal fees. So I'm just saying I want to be made whole. And that, to be made whole, that legal fees was $24,080.12. That's a lot of money. And I'd like to be able to, if you can amend the agenda, the attorney's agenda, and add me to the agenda for the BCC meeting today while I'm present, and for the reimbursement and the corrected certificate of title with me and my wife's name on it. The county left this property in a mess since Sally, and I've had to hire ECUA to pick up 15 piles of sticks from the hurricane, and there's a big tree that's still in the back that needs to be cut up. So I got to pay to have all this stuff done. It costs money, and you all owe me money. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might. Allison, is there any merit to any of that? I mean, I just have to ask because I'm...
Right. So we did have the board vote on this a few meetings back, and the board did agree to go ahead and dismiss the lawsuit following the loss on the appeal. And we did approach, Mr. Welcome does have an attorney. We did approach the attorney about moving forward with the partial release of the lien and the dismissal of the lawsuit. And she countered by saying, well, he needs to be, he's saying he needs to be made whole. We said, well, we think everybody just kind of walks away with the situation status quo. And we were not even told how much the attorney's fees were that he was requesting, or what the argument was for why that he was entitled to those. This is the first time I've seen he's gotten accounting here.
Like I say, and me as well. I remember he had multiple issues, but I
Right.
think he did, in circuit court, did prevail. So I just want to make sure that...
He did prevail. What was presented to his attorney was that each side would just walk away and we'd record the release of
Is
the
that
lien.
typically how we do these?
We don't typically have a case quite like this. This
Sure.
was highly unusual. We are certainly willing to take this back and engage with his attorney. I can't
I just
deal
want to
with
do what's normal and customary.
Right.
And-
If there's a legitimate legal arguments. Some of these expenses are like consulting with a second opinion and things like that. I mean,
So you'll bring back a
we
recommendation?
can certainly take this, consult with his attorney. I can't deal directly with Mr. Welcome.
of course.
And we can certainly make a recommendation back to you all.
Perfect. So you heard Mr. Welcome. It's not going to happen today, but something will come back.
Yeah, and I support Jim, Allison. I've said from the beginning, we should have never had to even engage in this. And so then we had to go to legal. If it's precedent that the prevailing party gets it, I agree with you, no consulting or whatever, but whatever precedent is, I think we should follow that.
I don't disagree with you. I will add, however, it may be that there are some things that he will need to do as the owner of the property. He may feel he needs a quiet title action or something that we would not normally help him.
Well, like you said, we're not going to
Beyond
solve it
that.
today, and I'm with Jeff. Mr. Welcome, it's not going to get solved today, but Allison is saying that she will meet with your attorney, and I guess your attorney with you, and bring a resolution back. Is that what we're hearing, Allison?
Yep. All right, Gene?
Good morning. I'd like to talk to you about a very specific issue. Regarding the jail, there are lots of them, but this one is particular. When I came in front of the board in July, I went home and started getting text messages from people that I admire telling me that Mr. Powell was saying that, Gene doesn't know what he's talking about, that sort of thing. So about a week later, I had a meeting with Mr. Powell. Bruce Miller was there, a representative from the county attorney's office was there, and we did a walkthrough. We got to one of the interview rooms in the jail, and Mr. Powell said, you see, this was a law enforcement room, but this is something I've done for you. I've made it a lawyer room. And Bruce appropriately said, you see, you're highlighting our point. The point is that this jail wasn't made to be a jail, it was made to be a prison, and that's why you call it a correctional facility instead of a pretrial detention facility. And Mr. Powell was very proud of this particular interview room, and he said there were 3, and that is to say interview rooms with no partitions, no glass partitions in them. And I kind of looked around and I said, where are the other 2? And he said, well, Gene, there's 1 on each floor. The new jail is this building that's like the size of Cordova Mall, piled on top of itself. It's really impressive how large it is. So at that point, I turned to Mr. Schaud, the lawyer for the county that was there, and I said, go back to your office and highlight to them that there are 3 rooms in this whole place that are non-partitioned, right? A couple days later, we got a nice letter from the county that said, you know, we're making it so the 12 non-partition rooms in the old jail, the lawyers can use. And, you know, candidly, when I was asked about it, I said, hey, that's great, that's great. But what Mr. Powell knows is that those 12 rooms in the old jail, we always had access to anyway, because the old jail continues to have people in it, right? So when we go to the jail, if we have inmates in the old jail, those inmates are not brought to the new jail to visit with us, right? We are walked over to the old jail and we visit with them in the same places that we've been visiting with folks going back as long as we've been doing this. The issue for y'all in terms of looking at, you know, Mitchell v. Untrainer, the case we keep talking about it, is whether you feel it's okay, whether ultimately I guess a trier of fact feels it's okay, for there to be only 3 non-partitioned interview rooms in this very large brand new jail. The reason I'm here right now is I had spoken with Mr. Schaub over the weekend. He's just wonderful. He called me, said, you know, Gene, we got this committee of the whole meeting on the 14th. What are your thoughts? Thank you. I'm getting there, I promise. And he said, well, with regard to the interview rooms and the non-partitions, Mr. Powell is trying to get someone in there to cut the glass out. It's very difficult. And I thought, great. But then when we were here on the 14th, what Mr. Powell was saying was, I'm cutting slots out. So I don't think it's in his thought process to remove the glass partitions. So you know, there are other issues that can't get brought up just because we only get 3 minutes when we're standing here. There are cameras in the interview rooms. I'm going to stay on my one issue right now, but I'm not happy about cameras.
I need you to wrap it up because we need.
I realize that, and it's important, but, you know,
I
we
know,
all
but-
got things we got to
But
do.
Gene, a lot of it is what you did say on Tuesday. I mean, you said the exact same story on Tuesday.
I have not said, I'm going to sit down. I have not before said we have 3 rooms with no glass partitions in that large jail. I appreciate you listening.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I mean, I thought you did, unless it was when we met on Monday, but the same thing about Cordova Mall being stacked on top of each other. Judy Diaz?
Can you hear me? I'm going to read. Jim Little's March 6, 2019 Pensacola News Journal article is entitled Escambia County Rewriting Tree Protections. In it, he states that Margaret Hotstetter began advocating for a stronger tree ordinance last year in 2018, and the county commission asked the planning board to investigate the issue. In Mr. Little's June 2, 2019 article, Branching Out for Input, Are Trees in Escambia County Protected?, the county's planning board agreed in March 2019 that the tree protections needed to be updated. A 13-question survey, the Tree Protection Standards Questionnaire, was online the month of June 2019. The following preface the questionnaire. Tree protection standards were originally adopted by the Board of County Commissioners in 1998, with revisions last made in 2015. The existing regulations are in the Land Development Code and Design Standards Manual. Furthermore, the County Planning Board asked for comments containing specific recommendations for changes or rationale for leaving the existing language. By March 2020, COVID halted pursuit of any public workshop about the questionnaire. The August 19, 2021 public forum before county commissioners focused attention on the permit issued to W.M. Bell, allowing him to cut down a heritage tree, which Jimmy Jarrett said was the largest she had ever measured to date. I'm just shaking. Excuse me. Okay. At the end of the public forum hour, Commissioner Underhill verified with Escambia County Development Services Director Horace Jones that the permit was issued in compliance with existing language of the Land Development Code. The question is, what is this existing weak language of the tree removal criteria in the Design Standards Manual 2-5.1? And I will read the first paragraph for tree removal criteria. No authorization to remove a protected tree shall be granted where there has been a failure to take reasonable measures to design and locate proposed improvements so that tree removal is minimized. Additionally, each proposed removal of a protected tree must be shown necessary by one or more of the following conditions, and the first of those conditions is reasonable use. To say, in the complete yet rather brief DSM 2-5.1, the words reasonable or reasonably appear 6 times. Who decides what is within reason is either a developer or county staff. This original 1998 language indeed does merit scrutiny and revision. Last paragraph. Therefore, it is apparent that the Escambia County Commissioners have let the revision of the tree protection standards, which they requested, languish without attention from 2019 to nearly 2022. Development sites are still permitted to be wholly cleared. Now, one tree's fate is the icon for renewed interest in tree protection, but as of August 28, 2021, report is that Mr. Bell is obstinate. The tree protection standards revision should be put back on your calendar.
Thank you, ma'am. Chris Kerb? Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have some copies of what I'm going to testimony to.
Tim's
today.
getting his workout this morning.
My name's Deanna Bridleski. Everybody calls me Dee. And Brett and our neighbor Gary is here today. 1 year ago today, Hurricane Sally hit all of us. But my home's located at 2046 Silverado Court in the Windrose subdivision, and it flooded for the third time. We've only been here 7 years, so when it flooded in 2012, and then it really flooded in 2014, it took on 40 inches of water, and then Sally gave us 5 to 7 inches. We suffered over $100,000 in loss, and we all know we can't stop hurricanes, but we can prevent the flooding in our creeks, streams, holding ponds with maintenance and management of the Bayou Marcus Creek, tributary B. We need a restoration project to be done so that the flow of the water will flow better than what it does. There's a blockage on Pontiac Avenue and 2 at Lillian Highway. During the flood of 14, there was a whole lot of damage to that entire neighborhood. I lost my place. When we flooded and Sally, we had 5 to 7 inches in our home, but there was a 3 to 4 foot swimming pool in our backyard from the backup from Bayou Marcus Creek. All of us here today know that flooding is throughout our county. We also understand that we have issues with funding, manpower, resources, but all these issues need to be addressed. I'm the neighborhood flood defender advocate, and we're just asking the commissioners today to make a commitment, help us fix the creeks. There's a lot of water that now flows into that creek that used to not flow in there. I talked to a gentleman yesterday, and I asked him, I said, explain to me what's happened since 2012 to present time, and then what's happened since 1992 when that subdivision was built to 2012. Well, from 1992 to 2012, a whole lot of developments happened. That's fine, but we need to plan for the future on how to take the water away from the properties that are existing. Really, that's all I have to say.
Okay, Chris?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Chris, you're also signed up for Commissioners Forum.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we typically don't have speakers for Commissioners Forum, but okay.
I got a handout too. Y'all guys know me, I'm with Flood Defenders. Our numbers went up. It says 1,700 on the paper there, but it's actually 1,800 as of this morning. There's 49 residents that have reported flooding in this area: Windrose Subdivision, Carrot Acres, Unit 4, the West End, Unit 2, the West End. Escondido Place is up off of Lillian. It's a townhomes. And LaFair Estates and the second edition of LaFair Estates. All these are tied to Bayou Marcus Tributary B. Y'all have a basin study for Bayou Marcus. It doesn't have a lot of recommendations in there on it, but pretty much what the problem is you've got a creek and a greenbelt area with flow restrictions from years of storm debris, material dumping, garbage, sediment, heavy invasive vegetation, invasive species, wetland species, and other blockages causing homes to flood in the wetland waterway. You got two stormwater ponds in Windrose Subdivision. They need pond rehabilitation, not just maintenance. Escambia County improved LaFair Ditch several years ago. It's now concrete, and it increases the flow to this creek. FDOT's improved the drainage on Fairfield Drive. It also increases the flow rate to the same creek. Preliminary maps that FEMA has are changing some of these areas from a flood zone A to a flood zone X. That's not requiring flood insurance for unsuspecting homeowners. D will tell you there's people selling those houses in there, and they don't know they got to have flood insurance. So that's a problem too. Our government's failed these people. Escambia County and DOT has not protected the neighborhoods from flooding. There's no wetland management of Bayou Marcus Basin Tributary B. Marginal pond maintenance and lack of pond rehabilitation results in water backing up to into the streets. That's a workforce retention problem I believe y'all already know about. There's a solution. Fund a plan to check the creek out, evaluate it, remove the creek blockages, protect the neighborhood with adequate flood maps, invest and equip your staff to properly maintain the existing drainage infrastructure. The county actually owns a park in there on a portion of this wetlands. That'd be where you start. There's also a right-of-way on Pontiac Drive that Tim Day and Brent have already identified a blockage in that creek. That's at the very top end of the creek where it discharges into the main Bayou Marcus tributary. So these people here, these residents, your constituents, Bagosh, they don't want a Band-Aid solution. They want a solution that's going to resolve this problem out there. So
No,
thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Chris. And Mr. Chairman, if I might, Tim, please come forward. Let's discuss this. As you hear, we're getting unprecedented amounts of rain. I mean, all around, not just District 1, not just your subdivision. My heart goes out. My own subdivision's flooded out. It's just incredible. And one of the things that I think I want you to know is we're looking at any solution and all solutions possible. I'm working a major project on Dunaway Lane and Fritinger. I've got another big one in the Floridian subdivision, a ditch that's an FDOT. It's the number one problem in Escambia County, and it was created by things allowed to be constructed where they shouldn't have been years and years ago, and it's, the sins of the past are coming back to haunt us. And we very recently went from a 25-year flood standard when we allowed these developments to 100-year, but going forward, maybe we need to increase that even more. We're trying. In short, we're trying to play catch up. We're trying to play catch up. We're like you mentioned, Band-Aid projects trying to fix things, but we are doing a lot. With respect to this one, Tim, you and I spoke about this morning. Let them know exactly what we're going to be doing, and then in terms of these other solutions, I would like Joy Jones to take what Chris has provided. And is Joy here? Yeah. And I would like to schedule time to get with you, Joy. And if these are things that I can fund with discretionary money, I'm willing to do it. No one wants to get flooded. I lived in California and got flooded. It was the weirdest thing. You'd never think of it. 8 inches a year in San Diego. My house got flooded in a weird storm. It happens. Here, it's much more acute. I think we're normally getting 70 inches of rain. I think this year we're on track to get 90. It's an unusual event. But I just want you to know, when you come and you plead your case, Chris, I see your Facebook messages. I hear you. No one wants anyone to flood. There's a limited amount of resources. We do the best that we can. In terms of the manpower to clean these storm ponds, we're doing the best that we can with what we have. There's a nationwide shortage of labor, exacerbated by federal policymakers who want to do unlimited payments to people not to work, right? It's like universal basic income, it's coming. That only makes it worse, right? So, Tim, please tell us what we're doing with this particular situation to start.
Yes, sir. Tim Day, Natural Resources Management. We met with the citizens a month and a half ago, I think, more or less, or a month ago. And during the investigation off Pontiac, we found a large area fill that probably blocks 30 to 40% of the floodway. Okay. And we're working with engineering to take a look at it so that, have a plan to get that pulled out, and get that flowing well again. And part of the consideration, we just got to make sure that we don't cause downstream harm when we do it.
Sure.
And to make sure that once we pull it out, the stream itself will be stable. But it's we've started those steps towards getting to that resolution.
All right. And I'm going to meet with Joy, and we're going to look at what Chris has presented, and if it's feasible and I have the money to do it, we'll start working that project as well. It's like whack-a-mole. There are a lot of problems all over the county, and we're working them all. Thank you.
Board, that was our last speaker. We'll just take a minute. All right, sorry about that. We'll go ahead and get started for the meeting. We're ready? Everybody logged in? Sorry, we'll take another minute. Good morning. This is the September 16th, 9 a.m. Board of County Commissioners meeting. It's currently 9:05 a.m. Please turn your cell phone to the vibrate, silence, or off setting. The Board of County Commissioners allows any person to speak regarding an item on the agenda. The speaker is limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairman to allow sufficient time for all speakers. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussion is limited to board members and questions raised by the board. Commissioner Bergosh, you have the invocation this morning?
Absolutely. I would ask that we rise and observe a moment of silence in remembrance of all those who we've lost in foreign wars, including the 13 in Afghanistan over the last several weeks. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any items to be added to the agenda?
No, sir, but I am dropping CA2 1-2, which is the DocuPet issues being dropped. It'll be brought back at the next meeting.
Okay,
None.
thank you, sir. No, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner May.
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Nothing for me.
Okay, and I don't have anything? What? All right,
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
thank you. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Commissioners forum. Commissioner Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Want to thank Wes and staff for getting a cleanup scheduled for tomorrow. I'm not sure how that's gonna work out. I don't know if Robert, is Eric here? Gilmore.
On
No,
his way,
okay.
I heard. He's on his way.
All right. Do we have an estimation? Is this supposed to continue all the way through
My
today?
understanding from what I saw this morning is that we're supposed to have 3 to 6 inches of rain between now and I think Friday or Saturday. So not the heavy stuff like we saw yesterday. And I know that they've either, at least when we did one of ours immediately after Sally. They still did it and they just come in and pick up. But I've also moved them.
I mean, my issue is it's going to be difficult to get stuff to the road while it's raining, like literally while it's raining. I mean, and obviously Sally was much worse, but, when the rain stopped, it was gone for a few days. We had some reprieve after that where people could get, junk to the side of the road, and I'm concerned that people aren't having an opportunity to do that.
If we need to reschedule, we can certainly reschedule.
All right, can we maybe make a decision about that by this afternoon so we can let people know so that if we need to move it, we can?
Yeah, not a
All right.
problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. That's it.
Sure. Commissioner May.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly want to give my condolences to the Griffin family, to James Griffin, who was laid to rest, as part of ITL Solutions family. And so could not make it on yesterday, but I was there on Tuesday night. So certainly want to give condolences to his family. Commissioner Underhill, although it's not my district, it's of concern. Forest Creek, does it seem like it's moving? As much rain as we've gotten, usually I've gotten phone calls, but are we beginning to see that it's not getting in the houses today? I don't know if...
Yeah, I actually, I was late to public forum because I was down at Forest Creek checking it out, and I was going to talk about that in my public.
Okay,
in my,
okay, that's
if
fine.
you're, I mean, are you at the
I'm
end
done.
of your? Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, actually, here's the pictures of how Forest Creek looked this morning. The ones from, I was at Forest Creek at 10:30 last night, and it was it appeared to have crested at about 10:30. Probably about 4 inches, 2 to 4 inches higher than what you're looking at there. As you can see, so the building on the picture there is the office. That's actually the lowest lying point. So if the office gets wet, then the 2 buildings on the backside are also getting wet inside. You can see you've probably got 8 to 12 inches before it's in the to the floor level, and that appears to be your crest point. It seems to be going down, obviously with what we hear on the rooftop right now, that may not be the case. But I think what's really important to notice, and you really can't see from this picture, is the rate of flow in the creek behind the apartments. This board was very aggressive about building back a much better bridge at Old Quarryfield Road. It tripled the outflow from the Warrington Basin. And that was really where things backed up. So the problems in Forest Creek started when when the old bridge there got overwhelmed. That's not happening now. And as the more water we get, the larger the flow area is through Old Quarryfield Road. So it looks to be working as planned. And so far, and one of the other things I noticed that I think is a tribute to the people in the neighborhood. I talked to quite a few people who this is their first flood in there. The turnover in there is actually fairly high, as you know, Commissioner May. So I talked to people that this is their first flood event, and the people inside Forest Creek and the Forest Creek administration all communicated very heavily. And so as you drive down, as you drive up to Forest Creek, you see everybody's moved their cars up to the high ground. So the communication in there is pretty darn good. And I know that our firefighters at Warrington are kind of on a standby. They know exactly what to do. Did you have the pictures from last night? Horrible pictures. It was raining when I took them, and the camera was wet, so I apologize for that. But, you know, there's the, essentially the same spot at 10:30 last night. But you can see that the level was just slightly higher than what you see this morning. So certainly on the right track there, and you know, but I don't want to take this as a victory lap at all, because we've been looking at Warrington Basin as a holistic approach. We still have, you know, we've knocked out 2 of the main projects, but we still have 2 big projects that are important for the protection of Forest Creek and the rest of the Warrington Basin. Those 2 projects, of course, are the Lake Charlene project, which is now approved and moving forward, and the people of Lake Charlene are very happy about that, as well as the massive stormwater pond that's just going to be to the south of the Navy Hospital. Each one of those has a protective element to Forest Creek and all things downstream in Warrington, and so I hope that I will continue to have the support of this board on those projects. But I want to address...
And you think the condition, you'll have my support, those will improve the conditions even more?
Even further than this, yes. Now, let's keep in mind that the back parking lot, the parking lot that you're looking at there, is only about 6 feet above the normal level of Bayou Chico. So if Bayou Chico is, has 6 feet of storm surge in it, there's nowhere for this water to go. And that's just a reality of the whole southwest sector. As our bayous come up, we've built way too much too low. But it's those are the catastrophic things. What we have to do, what we're working on, is making sure that we don't make the catastrophic things worse and make things that shouldn't have been catastrophic. And that's why I want to bring up Myrtle Grove. As we solve the problems here in Warrington, one of the next key step, and much of this will have to take place after my watch, but we cannot continue to build out and put more impervious surface in Myrtle Grove, because the last thing I've got, and Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you giving me the time, but this helps us keep it from having to be an add-on to the agenda. There are, in that package, you'll find pictures of Escambia County High School. Escambia High School flooded the parking lot, as it always does, and we had a number of our students lose their cars. These are not wealthy people who have, parents buying them a new car all the time. That water has to go somewhere. That water moves down into Warrington, into the Warrington Basin, and eventually runs right behind the apartment complex. So these are current. These are right now. Those are like, real current events right there. So, as we solve the problem in the lower Warrington Basin, we have to be, and we've got those projects underway and moving forward, we have to be very strict about stormwater, any new development in Warrington that does not aggressively address stormwater, because that water has to go somewhere, and it goes here. So, if we don't manage stormwater properly in Myrtle Grove, if we allow aggressive overdevelopment in Myrtle Grove, then we are telling the folks here in this neighborhood, that we're going to sacrifice your quality of life. So I would ask that you guys be cognizant of that. We do have, and Joy, I wanted to ask you to come forward. Do we have a project going on or anywhere that can be accelerated that will address the issue at Escambia High School?
I'll have to get back to you on that, sir.
Okay. Isn't there one just south of Escambia High School that we were putting in a pond there? Isn't there a pretty... No.
Yes.
Oh, Chris, do you have any information? Do you want to get, if you could share with me? They're all, my whole district is swamped, so, there's just so many of them. Chris, do you mind taking the microphone? Can you tell me, it was one that came out of the 2014 SWAT, right?
Yes, it's a Myrtle Grove project that deals with Myrtle Grove Elementary. That's in the Warrington Basin. I believe it's TJ's project. I think it's on hold due to acquisition. I think Christine has a streetscape project that she's doing out in that area too. So, but yeah, there's a project on the books currently working. Now, Escambia County High School, there's a basin divide between Warrington and Bayou Marcus right there in that location. Mm-hmm. 61st has a pipe that runs north. It goes under Fairfield Drive. It goes out into a big, huge DOT.
Okay, I don't want to take the time of my peers and really hack through that in Commissioners Forum because we got a pretty robust agenda here. We're going to spend a lot of money today. But I appreciate you just bringing that up. And so what I really want to do is, Joy, if you could get with Jonathan, get on my calendar ASAP. I want to know if there's anything that we can accelerate a little bit. It's kind of frustrating. The 2014 SWAT, really should. If we'd have done everything in the 2014 SWAT plan, we would be in a much better place today. So on the 1-year anniversary of Sally, many of us still suffering because we haven't gotten paid out by our insurance companies. So it's a tough time. So if you could, let's get on my agenda and let's work that out. Mr. Chairman,
sir.
I didn't want to negotiate it all out here, but I need to get smart on that, if you would, please, Joyce. So work with Jonathan. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Bergosh?
I want to thank Michael Rhodes and the Parks Department. Bellevue Park off of Longleaf, it was a park that for many years it was in decline, and lately it's been revitalized. The baseball fields are better, the football field's better. Recently we added a new scoreboard, and very recently the Parks Department repaved the site. And so I just want to, these are the things, the quality of life things that we do that get no mention in the News Journal. They never make it to Channel 3, but there are things that staff is doing every day to make our quality of life better, and those adult baseball players appreciate it. The Bellevue Packers appreciate it. Other teams that visit that park appreciate it. I believe the neighbors appreciate it. Paving the road is going to eliminate a dust problem along Nathan Lane. So, I just want to say thanks to Michael Rhodes. He's one of the staff members that just does his job, grinds it out. He doesn't come up here to the podium and grandstand. He just gets it done. And we have a lot of staff members that do that. And I just want to make sure from my position and where I'm at that I thank them for what they do. We get a lot of criticism up here, and so I think it's only fair that we balance it out with praise and we manage up the staff when they do a good job. So Michael Rhodes, thanks for what you do. Also want to send my condolences to the Hicks family. My son Nick went to school with Brandon Hicks, and their father just passed away recently. Very, very sad young man. Too soon. So condolences to the Hicks family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Berry, I saw Eric walk in if you want to have him come up and.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Yeah.
So Eric, we're looking for what we're looking like for the rest of the week. Commissioner Berry has a neighborhood cleanup tomorrow, and wants probably more interested in what the rest of the day and this evening looks like.
I can't make any promises, but it looks like it's going to be wet. Well, we're in a tropical moisture. All the moisture is coming up out of the Gulf, and when it gets here and how it comes up, I can't. Right now, this cell just popped up. We had a line we watched this morning out of Baldwin County, and it got bigger as it approached us. I just come from Forest Creek Apartments myself. We're watching that hot and heavy, working with management there to make sure we have a contingency plan if we need to do something there. Fire guys, as you mentioned, are watching that as well. So more than likely, we're going to see rain tomorrow. We thought we was going to have the day to kind of dry out and drain out, and then it's going to recycle again tomorrow, but I think we're going to get more of a chance tomorrow. So.
I think what I saw this morning, we're looking at another 3 to 6 inches over the next few days.
That's correct. Through Saturday, 3 to 6 inches through Saturday, on top of what we got yesterday. And west side of Pensacola, Perdita Key area, Blue Angel and all that, they received anywhere from 7 to 8 inches according to Mobile Weather in a 24-hour period.
I think we had almost 5 inches in a 2-hour period.
That's correct.
Which, I think for comparison's sake, I think a 25-year flood is 9 inches in 24 hours.
24 hours, right.
So if you extrapolated that that was a lot of water volume coming down. Commissioner Underhill?
Thank you very much. I know that out along Gulf Beach Highway and out to Innerarity Point, the power company has been swapping out to the much taller concrete poles. Are we hearing anything in terms of outages so far?
No outages have been reported as of yet. So we do, and as far as roads and flooding, we haven't had any impassable roads yet. But dispatch and fire crews, EMS are reporting those as they go out. But no impassable roads yet, but we do have water standing on the roads. So everybody just slow down and do your due diligence. So.
Yeah, I know that, the folks that live on Innerarity Island, they make a choice to live an island lifestyle. The causeway was in fact impassable for a period of time by any reasonable car. And I think that, except for those with the very lifted trucks,
right. Okay.
What's the thing they say that don't take it. There's a cute
turn around, don't drown. That's it.
So, luckily, and I think the folks of Innerarity are, they're very skilled.
Yes, sir.
In the lifestyle of being on that island. But if it remains impassable for an extended period of time, the folks that need to get off for dialysis and things like that might need to be addressed. I think that those folks more or less take care of themselves.
They do.
But your team should be prepared if there's a
They are prepared to help out if need be.
Yep.
The fire guys out there are watching that situation as well as 16, as you mentioned. So yeah, and I've been sending the weather updates morning and evening, so I'll continue sending those. This depression, we didn't think we was going to get this type of moisture out of it, but unfortunately it hugged the coastline, and it's east side wrap, and that's what we're getting. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And Doug, Eric, if you would, I received a message from some of the residents in Forest Creek that kids had a difficult, even though it didn't flood, getting out and going to school today. Can we investigate that?
yes.
It's not my district, it's Doug's, but can we figure that out if that's absolutely people can't get out of Forest Creek?
Okay,
Like,
right now, I'll investigate that.
As we speak, they're saying that they can't go to school.
Okay. All right, sir.
All right. And then just real quick, because I was out in my district yesterday afternoon, checking on some of our areas that we've had some issues with, and they were being handled. There was a lot of capacity still available. But about that same time was when we had an overturned vehicle that had actually probably rolled multiple times, but luckily came right side up in the retention pond right at Interstate and Scenic Highway. Engine 7, Tower 7, and Squad 3 responded and had to cut the person out of the vehicle, and it looked like everything was okay. But as we said, please just slow down, take your time. It seemed like it was a very violent accident, and she was very lucky. So, we're going to have this for a couple days, and
Yes, sir.
And we just want to be safe. And so I know we had a number of those calls go out yesterday.
We had several on the interstate yesterday.
Yeah.
Driving in high rate of speed and wet conditions and puddling on the road. Yes, everybody just needs to slow down. Take your time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I
sir.
double back while Eric is here? And I neglected to mention, I appreciate you and Fire Chief Catronbone and EMS Chief Torcell on my coffee with the commissioner. It was a great roundtable
Oh, it was
on
great.
public safety, and appreciate you all getting up early to do that. But I also, while you're sitting at the podium, I want to bring this is newsworthy. I've been asking in particular for several months now to get the latest real-time data on COVID-19 deaths, because we weren't getting it. And I was just notified that this morning we are now putting that back on the dashboard. And I think that's important information to have. I mean, when folks weren't seeing it, a lot of people were suspicious. So we asked Marie Mott multiple times, never really got a good answer.
Right.
But again, staff doing their job, being diligent, and somehow found a way to make it happen. Obviously, we don't celebrate the deaths, but we need to know real data in real time as we lag many other communities around the country in our vaccinations, and we're still in this pandemic. I think if people see those numbers in real time, in addition to the high hospitalizations, which are coming down, I think that might inspire some folks to maybe make arrangements to speak with their physician and do what's in their best interests in terms of taking the vaccine or not. So thanks to you, Eric, and your team. Thanks to Marie Mott for what she did. And I appreciate the data, and I know that the citizens will as well. So if you go to myescambia.com and go to the dashboard, you'll see real-time data now on hospitalizations, under 18 hospitalizations, infections, and importantly, the deaths locally, which have gone up. Thank you, Eric.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
And Jeff, I want to thank you for pushing that. I mean, that's been something that's been very important to me. And, although we do lack a small percentage behind in vaccinations, I think out of the 67 counties in the Southeast, our efforts that we've done, we were the first, probably one of the first in the state to set up testing and vaccines at Brownsville. Our staff, Claire Long and Leroy Williams, they're working 7 days a week assisting community health and the health department. So as a county, we're doing our part. I mean, we can't constitutionally mandate people to follow protocols, but we are providing resources to keep our community safe. And unfortunately, we can't legislate common sense, to follow. We just can't. But we are implementing programs. And so, although I would acknowledge that, we have a long way to go and we are a few steps behind, the efforts that we have made have been tremendous in the prevention of COVID-19.
Thanks for all your effort and all the work you've done at Brownsville. Brownsville has been the epicenter of vaccinations, testing, And so it's a great facility, centrally located, and I appreciate all your
Oh,
advocacy on it.
absolutely couldn't do it without the staff and couldn't do it without our partners at the health department and Eric and his staff, and Sandra Smiley and Sandra Donaldson over at Community Health. But it has been, I mean, 7 days a week. On many days, we've been there 7 days a week, trying to provide services to our community.
Well, you know, Jeff, on the call that we had with the hospitals earlier this week, you know, we had been asking for that data. They knew it was coming out with the CDC, and really, we didn't want to be pushing out incomplete data. Sure. And, you know, of course, they've been monitoring it themselves, but so I'm glad we have that now. And of course, we see that hospitalizations have gone down by about 160 in the last 2 weeks, which is great, and so we hopefully continue to see this decline. You know, the hospitals, I think where we are now, maybe where we were earlier in this week when we had our call, was the peak of the previous surge. And we were able to handle that a little bit better than we, or, you know, equal as what we had when we had, you know, 150 more patients. So I'd say, unfortunately, we're already having a plan for the next one. We hope that's, you know, what we saw before, 6-7 months away. But we have to anticipate and plan that we will have another surge. And ultimately, I think we have to plan for the same increase in hospitalizations that we saw this time over the last one until we can see that we buck that trend. And again, that's just being prepared to serve the citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mr. Chairman, while we're on this topic of immunizations, there's been a lot of media about whether or not the third dose, the booster, if you will, and last night on the news, they talked about it. And I guess I would ask Eric, because he's got his finger on the pulse, have we got any definitive guidance? And if they do determine, it appears that the Pfizer to do the booster, it's the full dose, but the Moderna, which a lot of folks in Escambia County, like myself, have had, it would be a half dose. Are we prepared with adequate levels of dosing if the FDA approves?
If it's approved, we should be fine. We have a lot of venues or avenues for people to get the shot or get their booster, so it should be a problem.
Okay.
We're even talking with our community partners of doing a weekend, a Saturday, long-term event, just come in and get your booster shot. So, yeah, we have capacity for it.
Well, and I know Great Britain is saying for those 50 and older, do you have any sense of
I don't know where they're going to fall in right now. I do know that Pfizer is just doing the immunocompromised and people with underlying health conditions.
Okay.
I don't know what Moderna are going to push out. I even heard last night that Moderna was talking about combining with the flu shot.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard that.
I heard that. So I have no idea. It's kind of all over the board right now.
But we're prepared for what
We're prepared. When it does come out, we'll be prepared to do it. So that's no problem.
Thank you.
We've stepped up to the plate forward with all community partners and everybody. You know, with no direction or anything to get the first series out, the booster is going to be cake because we've got it down to a science right now. So.
Yeah, we do, every Sunday.
Yeah, every Sunday, exactly.
And Jeff and Mr. Chairman, and I would be remiss, I know he's here on another item to shake us down for money, but we could not have made the vaccination without the Mayor of Pensacola. I mean, since the beginning, Mayor Robinson has been at the forefront.
Oh, there he is, okay. He was hiding behind Rhodes. I knew he was back there, and I said, where did he go? And I was about to recognize him, so.
Well, you hold your head down when you come for money.
You know.
But Mayor, I do want to publicly thank you because the initial press conferences that we had was with you and getting information out when other parts of the county and the state and the country didn't recognize how dangerous this pandemic was going to be. You stood with me in Brownsville to acknowledge it, so we certainly appreciate it.
Okay. Well, again, and then, of course, I was on the radio this morning and talked about how today is the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Sally. You know, what stands out in my mind, of course, is that Commander Hobbs, I walk in at EOC and Commander Hobbs tells me that the barge has struck the bridge, and of course that was when we were trying to evacuate, and at the time it wasn't as bad, and then Wednesday morning finding out that sections were missing from the same thing. So, you know, that's all one of the things that that I'll always remember, much like the other remembrance that we had this past weekend for all those that were lost on September 11th, and those that continue to fight for our freedom. So we appreciate all that they've given and all that they've done for that.
Robert, and I'm glad that you brought it up on the 1-year anniversary of Sally. And the unfortunate thing about many of our pockets of poverty in our urban cores, people who lack insurance have not been able to restore themselves. And so I would look forward to Claire bringing a more aggressive plan for funding and to find support here, because we have many citizens still with blue tarps, roofs, and they've not been repaired, and they don't have insurance, and they're not going to be repaired, and there's not going to be someone that's going to fly in, and come take care of our community. So I would hope, Wes, that we begin to look at all of the reimbursements that we've gotten from FEMA and the evaluations of neighborhoods to put a plan to start helping citizens who just can't do it on their own.
I mean, Commissioner, did we not have proper reach out for those that they could have done the blue tarp, that to have FEMA's help?
Well, FEMA didn't help a lot of people, Commissioner. I mean, that's unfortunate. There are many people who are still stuck. I mean, a blue tarp only lasts so long.
No,
And so, FEMA, it's just as FEMA has not completely taken the county, imagine the residents. I mean, and so I'm not gonna sit and wait for FEMA to come in and take care of residents that elect me to serve. I mean, I think we should find money to help those residents in our neighborhood. I'm not gonna wait for the federal government to help them when we can help them locally.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right, Wes, anything? Okay. We'll do some proclamations real quick, and then, in observance of the mayor's time, we'll move that up, but let's go ahead and do these proclamations real quick. I'll take a motion on the proclamations.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0 for the proclamations. The first one, Laura?
Hi, Laura Cole, Communications Director, and it is my pleasure to introduce Daniel Spanier, our multimedia graphic designer, and read the proclamation. So, whereas multimedia graphic designer assigned to Escambia County, Daniel works collaboratively and strategically to promote a positive image of Escambia County by designing and producing high-quality print, digital, and electronic communications critical to the mission of the county and aligned with the brand. In this position, Daniel has shown a thorough understanding of design and marketing to clearly communicate using visuals. He established brand standards for the county, and Daniel is an outstanding visual storyteller. And whereas Daniel took on extra duties assisting the budget office with the online proposed budget book, in addition to creating the template, adding photos and mission statements, he worked to make sure the pages were set up, linking to data with support from IT. Daniel also created animations, and that is a huge skill that he brings to the county. Not all graphic designers can do animation. He created these animations for the countdown to Escambia County's 200th anniversary that were used on social media and picked up by the media. This is an extra talent that he has brought to CMR that has tremendously boosted the professionalism in our videos and social media. And whereas Daniel remains professional and courteous while working with other departments, all departments within the county rely on him for the graphic design. On additional special projects such as the website refresh and intranet redesign, which is coming, he worked closely with IT personnel. And whereas Daniel helped at the Escambia County 200th anniversary to set up and tear down chairs, run waters, and help the summer youth workers with capturing video and anything else that was needed, Daniel helped with his church event, even the evening before the Escambia County 200th anniversary event. He is engaged in mentoring the summer youth workers in CMR, and Daniel is always eager to help others and learn more. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, commends and congratulates Mr. Daniel Spanier on his selection as Employee of the Month for September 2021. Board of County Commissioners, Robert Bender, Chairman, District 4, Jeff Bergosh, Vice Chairman, District 1, Douglas Underhill, District 2, Lumen J. May, District 3, and Stephen Barry, District 5.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just wanted to say that it's been a pleasure to serve this organization and this community, and I'm looking forward to continuing to do so in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And Daniel, I think there was one other thing that necessarily wasn't mentioned, but the cards for the neighborhood cleanups. I think you redesigned those last year. And Board, I think they're a much cleaner version. They actually show in detail where the pickup's going to be, so you can read the map. And I mean, I think it's a much cleaner version. So I also want to recognize that. So thank you so much. I do know the citizens love those events. We've done well there. So thank you so much. Proclamation for congratulating Glenn Griffith. Speaking of the neighborhood cleanups.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Hey. Whereas in March 2000, Glenn Griffith began his career with Escambia County, working at Natural Resources Management Department under Soil and Water Conservation Division, and he worked there for a year. During his tenure there, he created this highly successful and comprehensive video program called the Resource Ranger. And this program was set aside for educating our children and families, and it also integrated into the school systems. And of course, this program helped educate not only young youth, but bringing awareness to our environment, as well as building sustainable practices for these youth. Glenn has received several notable awards for the Resource Ranger program, and these videos still can be seen today on YouTube. After a year at Natural Resources, he moved and was promoted to the county's Brownfields Coordinator with the Neighborhood and Human Services Department, Community Redevelopment Agency Division, where he served his remaining 20 years of service to the county. Glenn was the Brownfields expert guru, and still today. He performed many environmental Phase 1 and other special environmental projects. He brought in millions of dollars in EPA grants and volunteer cleanup tax credits, which helped spur redevelopment to unused properties in the county. Glenn also served as the neighborhood cleanup coordinator, and also he was overseeing the CRA hazardous tree removal and paint program for low-income family. Whereas Glenn was responsible for implementing overlays for all 9 CRA areas in the Brownfields as a Brownfields designation. Through his hard work and dedication, he received multiple funding grants awards through the EPA assessment grants. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners, on behalf of the citizens of Escambia County and his fellow co-workers, commends and congratulates Glenn Griffith on his retirement effective September the 3rd, 2021. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County expresses its appreciation to Glenn Griffith for his 21 years of faithful and dedicated service to Escambia County. Board of County Commissioners, Robert Bender, Chairman, District 4, Jeff Bagash, Vice Chairman, District 1, Douglas Underhill, District 2, Lumen J. May, District 3, Stephen Barry, District 5.
Thank you. Do I need to say something? I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. It was a great career, and this is a great team that we have, and I just appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to the life of leisure, I guess. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Glenn, I want to personally thank you for the cleanups in District 3. You were always there and went beyond the call of duty, so I want to personally thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Likewise, we've had a number of them in District 4 the last year and a half, and and Glenn was always out there working hard and telling us how we could improve it to make it easier on us, but still where we get the job done. So I think I think we all benefit from that, so thank you, Glenn.
Thank you very much. They're in good hands with the new crew on that, by the way.
They were trained well.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Glenn. Thank you. Okay, Chips?
Commissioners, next week is National Estuaries Week, September 18th to the 25th. So with me today, we have staff from the Natural Resources Management Department, as well as staff from the Pensacola and Perdido Bays Estuary Program. So I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas estuaries are some of the most productive ecosystems, providing critical habitats for a variety of plants and animals, including many species that are listed as threatened and endangered, and whereas estuaries provide critical ecosystem services that protect human health and public safety, including water filtration, flood control, shoreline stabilization, erosion prevention, and the protection of coastal communities during extreme weather events. And whereas Florida estuaries are vital to our state's jobs, tourist industry, and economy, with more than 75% of the nation's commercial and recreational fish species spending part or all of their lives in an estuarine habitat. And whereas celebrating National Estuaries Week highlights critical habitats within Northwest Florida's vibrant ecosystems, provides scientific education about estuarine environments, and offers collaboration opportunities for resource management, and whereas Escambia County recognizes that estuaries provide social, environmental, and economic benefits to our community, and whereas National Estuaries Week is an annual celebration of the vibrant coastal areas where the rivers meet the seas, and celebrates this week and presents an opportunity to learn more about these coastal ecosystems and how to protect them. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Escambia Board of County Commissioners joins other cities and counties throughout the state of Florida in proclaiming September 18th to the 25th, 2001, as National Estuaries Week. Be it further proclaimed that the board encourages the citizens of Escambia County to engage in activities to help protect and restore our estuaries and to learn more about these wondrous natural resources. Board of County Commissioners, Escambia County, Florida, Robert Bender, Chairman, Jeff Bergosh, Vice Chairman, Douglas Underhill, Lumen J. May, and Stephen Berry. I'd like to present this to Donald Killorn, who is the Executive Director of the Pensacola and Perdido Bays Estuary Program.
Thank you, Don. If I may, Commissioners, as always, I want to thank you for your support of the program, particularly those commissioners who serve on our policy board. We do have an exciting schedule of events for next week, for National Estuaries Week, highlighted by our Community Grant Symposium on Thursday night at the Studer Community Institute, where we'll receive presentations from folks who were successful last year with the Community Grant Program, and we will present this year's successful applicants with our support, and many of those projects will have a very positive impact on the environmental health of your districts. As well, we'll host a cruise, an oyster cruise on Sunday night at 5:30, in partnership with Pensacola Bay Ferries, where we'll give the community a tour of our very exciting and growing oyster industry in Pensacola Bay. So appreciate the support, and thanks as always.
All right, and board, actually, we, item card 2-46 is the lease for this group to sort of kind of move out on their own.
That's right. We're moving across the street, I hope.
Okay.
Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. And then Pat, are you here, or are we doing the years of service? Is he not here? Okay. All right. Out working. Okay, good. Well, we do appreciate James Howells for his 25 years of service. Written communication, we do have a speaker.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sharon Clark, and I will not be asking for money. So there's a good thing. Actually, I'm going to get you money because we are trying to purchase a home that has a lien on another property, as you can see listed there. And we have submitted documentation that the new owner has a plan for reconstructing the environmental lien that is placed on that property on Old Quarry Road. We are trying to purchase the 800 West Mallory dwelling that was attached to that lien. And there is also money set aside to pay for the lien from that property being sold for cash. So everything is in place. Also, I will mention that the 800 West Mallory property home is kind of looking like an eyesore for that community that's up and coming and revitalizing. And I just want to go mow the lawn because it looks horrible. But anyway, with that being said, I'm asking, begging, pleading you to make a decision to separate that lien off of 800 West Mallory, since there are plans to take care of the Old Quarry property, waiting for the demolition permit to be granted. It has been not approved, but applied for by the new owner. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll probably have some discussion if you just want to
Okay,
sit down.
cool. Thanks.
All right. Tim, I'm guessing you'll be called up at some point, but, so, Madam Attorney, we spoke earlier, this is somewhat.
Right. I can give you a pretty brief synopsis of this one. Just like she's presented, she does not own the property yet at 800 West Mallory Street. She's wanting to purchase it from the current owner, who is also the violator named in the underlying lien. That is BCM Development LLC. The lien against BCM arose from a code enforcement action against a different property owned by BCM Properties at 1231 Old Quarryfield Road. But as you know, that lien then reaches out to all of the other BCM properties. BCM has not yet abated, at least as far as I know. Tim can certainly address that. From our research, BCM has not yet abated the violations, and the administrative fines are continuing to accrue. The court costs were $235. The administrative fines so far are $9,160, but they are accruing daily. And she's not yet the owner, so she's wanting to become the owner and wants to do that by addressing BCM's lien.
May I interject? By the sale, the cash sale of the property on Quarry, there was money set aside, I believe $20,000, and I think you had documentation for that as well, set aside in escrow with the title company to pay for the lien fees once the new owner gets the demolition permit to go through and demolition the property. So that's in place. That'll get you some money too.
Thank you.
Sal, she's not asking for a lien release. She wants to do a closing and the money's escrowed, so they're going to pay the $9,000 plus the $200 is what I'm hearing?
I personally don't have that information. I don't know. She's wanting to acquire the property at 800 Mallory. So she's wanting 800 Mallory carved out of the lien, and whether or not they have some plan to address getting the lien.
So what have we gotten from the owner? Who requests? So she's the petitioner, is the owner?
No, she's a prospective purchaser.
So if I could one piece I would add is, so the owner violator has sold the property that was in violation. The company that's purchased it is finishing their assessment of the property to determine whether it's something they need to rehab or demo and rebuild. It sounds like they're moving towards demolishing it. And as a part of that cash sale, there's monies that are escrowed to take care of code enforcement once it comes into compliance. The reason she's here today is because with this open code enforcement lien ticking, she's not able to go through a traditional closing because there's no way to satisfy the code enforcement lien.
So, I mean, Jim, just for clarification, there's money escrowed to pay it if they proceed on, is what you're saying to me?
In the previous sale to Old Quarry, there is not in the transaction that she's wishing to do.
So, I mean, that seems to me that that's a no-brainer because we're going to recoup all of our money, right, Madam Attorney?
I don't have familiarity with what happened in this other sale. That does not necessarily reach over into this request for 800 West Mallory.
So the owner at the time was BC.
And the owner's behind.
But when you're saying that there's money escrowed to
then
pay
who's-
this lien, correct?
Who's Land Shark? Who's Land Shark then?
Harper Title has an escrow account which was twice the amount of the lien at the time, just in case they took longer. So I believe it's 15,000 that we set aside, and as soon as the thing is abated, they're going to pay the lien.
And so and state your name for the record, please.
My name is Adam Miller.
Adam Miller, okay.
And you're the owner?
Yes.
Of Mallory?
Yes, sir.
Oh, of Mallory, okay. And you just sold 1231 to Land Shark?
Correct.
And in that sale, which there's a HUD statement, trying to see if I see it in the HUD statement of where it was withheld, though. I mean, unless I'm missing it in the HUD statement. Was it in the HUD statement of where?
I believe so, sir. It was $15,000 was held in escrow.
Partnership transfer fee, 15,000. Can we just, can we draw that up conditional on that, Madam Attorney? I mean, I don't want to hold her up from purchasing our house. Can we, what legal documents would we have to secure that we're going to get this out?
You have broad discretion with these. These are your liens. They're within your discretion how you want to handle them.
Well, they're offering to pay them, and so, but they won't pay them
But
until.
that's not the person who's asking to purchase the house, though.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, so there is a line 1306, code enforcement lien to Escambia County, $15,000 was in the HUD statement. Commissioner Underhill, yes, sir.
1306.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So obviously, getting the old Quarry Field Road facility torn down and cleaned up is very important to me. It appears as though all the parties to this seem to be trying to resolve sort of a longstanding problem, and it looks like that they've worked out a plan, without the government forcing them to. And to your credit, sir, you escrowed the money to meet your obligations that you have to your community. It strikes me that everything here is in the best interest of the community to move this direction. The only thing that I'm very supportive of the action. I would have preferred, and I think it would be better to have come from the owner of the property who has unquestionable legal standing, but it's not really relevant. I don't think that's relevant that it didn't come directly from you. So I am supportive of releasing the 800 property lien on that, as long as our legal office can verify and validate that the $15,000 that's been set aside for the other closing does in fact secure our equities, the equities of the people, to get paid. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sounds good to me. You want to make that motion then, Commissioner Underhill?
Yeah, I mean, if Doug, you make that motion, I'd second it.
I can't get away with the so moved there, can I? So I move that we grant the request, the partial lien relief for the property located at 800 West Mallory Street, as requested by the petitioner, contingent upon the county legal office determining that in fact the $15,000 held in escrow from the old Quarry Field Road sale does in fact protect the equities of Escambia County. That's my motion.
Is that clear enough, Madam Counsel?
Are you?
That's a second.
To the clerk office, are you good with that? Okay, pretty clumsy, but I think it covers the basis.
Yeah, second. Lyle, good seeing you.
Okay, and my one question is it sounded like it would be settled dependent on them securing a demolition permit. Did I hear, I mean, I don't want to make it seem like it, I mean, I would expect that it would go through our normal process. I don't want to make it, I just want to make, because I heard that, and this is not like a pay-to-play or anything like that. I mean, would we all agree on?
They're paying with
Well, they say they've got a request in it for demo, which but it's got to go through our proper thing. I mean, this isn't.
Well, if it didn't go through, then this wouldn't go through.
I don't think that's the.
So I did check the system. I hadn't seen it as of last week.
Have they applied for a permit?
I haven't seen it in the system yet.
Tim, will we know if they applied for a
To
permit
kind
or
of
not?
put it in scale, they've got the 15,000 set aside as of September 16th. It had accrued $9,160
So
in
who's
fines.
doing the demo? The owner was just here.
He's since sold it. So as part of his contract with the new purchasers who are intending to redevelop that property in some fashion, I haven't met with them, so I can't tell you their intent.
So the escrow is dependent on demolition or rehab? Or closing?
It could be either. With the
Either
new
way,
owners,
it's going to be there, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, they got to come in compliance. I mean, so whether they demo it or not, you just got to come into compliance. And we
Right.
still get-
I just heard the statement of contingent upon the demo permit being approved, and I'm just saying that our action today has no bearing on whether the demo permit is approved or not.
It's contingent on compliance.
Right.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if they rehab it or demo it.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Did the clerk's office receive the proofs of publication for the public hearings?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office has received all proofs.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we waive the reading of the proofs.
Second. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And you are one of the most modest people on this dais, but I failed to do this in Commissioner's Forum. I was honored to be at your dad's celebration at the Country Club on Sunday, the way your children, the way your family, and just the kind words that were said about your dad, and to know how proud he was of the work that you're doing. It really was touching, and I know that you were close to your mom and dad, and I want to acknowledge that publicly. I forgot to do that during Commissioner's Forum and trying to rush it, but what a great celebration of your dad's life on Sunday, and I was happy to be there.
Thank you, and I appreciate you coming, and it was fitting and what he would have wanted, so we got lucky on the weather, and
Oh, it was beautiful.
so thank you so much.
I've already decided how my memorial is going to be after going to your dad's. I mean, that was great.
Unfortunately, some other people already said, "Hey, this is what I want too."
That's what I want.
I
man.
mean,
hey man, open bars and great food. I mean,
yeah,
that's the way to go.
Those were our instructions. So,
well, y'all followed them to a T, and
thank
I'm
you.
glad I was able to come out. It was wonderful, and your children did wonderful as well.
Well, thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. I have 2 routine items on the consent agenda, but did want to tell you that the TDT August collections are $3.5 million.
Great.
Move the clerk's report as presented.
Second. All right, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, that was the August days, September collections, or 3.5 right now? Perfect. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Okay, growth management, Horace.
We have 2 final plats. The first is recommendation
concerning Ashland Manor final plat for approval.
Okay. And Board, we do not have any other speakers signed up.
No speakers. Commissioner Berry, I know this is, I believe, in your district, yeah?
No, but I move the item.
Second.
Okay.
It's close. Prior to, speaking of census redistricting, prior to 2010 redistricting, it was in, actually, I'm sorry, prior to 2000 redistricting, it would have been in my precinct, in my district. District 5 used to run all the way down to Detroit Boulevard.
All right. Please vote. GMR 1 passes 5-0. Item 2.
Yes, so the next item is a final plat recommendation for Kissimmee subdivision.
Do we have any speakers on this item?
No, sir, we don't.
I'll move the item in the affirmative.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Did everyone vote?
Did yours save? I saw you vote. Stephen, your save? Okay.
There.
Motion passes 5-0. Okay, consent agenda?
Again, we do have the consent agenda for October 7th.
No speakers at all, Mr. Chairman?
No, sir.
All right, I'll move the consent agenda in its entirety.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. And Board, we do not have any speakers signed up for any item remaining on the agenda.
Do we have any items to hold for a commissioner?
I'm not aware, but I think, go ahead.
For the first section, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I
sir.
don't need to hold anything, but on the
I'm
second.
good on the first section as well. The second, I do have some.
Yeah, I want to hold number 13 on
Okay.
the
I
section.
move CAR 1 consent agenda in its entirety.
Second.
All right. Please vote.
I see Mr. McBride here. We just taking care of all your Escarosa stuff. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Yeah.
We certainly appreciate it. Look forward to working with you.
Stephen, I think, unless you.
Steve.
Wait, no. Motion passes 5-0. Nick, congratulations. Appreciate you guys working on that with us. I would give you a brief minute if you want to say anything, but it did just pass. You know.
I had a little press release made up, so that says what I want to say. It's obviously been a long process. We've worked with a lot of different administrative officials. I'm glad we're finally here, looking forward to moving forward. I think some really big steps were made. A lot of hard work by the administration, by Wes stepping in, had a big bite. This board, obviously, there's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of tension. I think we now obviously recognize there's a mountain of work that's still left to do. There's a lot of details to get through, and we still have to define what the future of this department is going to be, not just fire, but public safety as a whole. But I think we took a really big step forward, and that's good, and I'm looking forward to the future. So we appreciate it.
And Nick, thanks for being here, and I'll just say for my part, some of our bargaining sessions got contentious, but I'm certainly glad that we were able to raise the starting pay, because we're all keenly aware that we were losing folks to nearby departments that were paying a little bit more. So, and I think for the record, it's important when we talk about it. I was on the radio and they were talking about it, in terms of a couple dollars per hour, but I think it's important to talk about it's a $10,000 a year essentially raise for starting firemen in Escambia County, and it puts us right up there, comparable to or above all the other departments. So with the new leadership that we have in command of fire, with the new leadership we have in public safety, the fact that we've been able to complete this bargaining, I'm optimistic. Optimistic is the word that I'll use. So look forward to working together to make things better.
I agree with you, and I know that's not a normal thing for us either, that we agree on anything. It is a huge bite to jump forward that far in the starting pay. I know that was the county's focus, was really hit on that. I don't think there's any argument that throws us back in the ring as far as being competitive. Escambia County has always been a highly desirable place to work at because of the volume of fire that we have. The numbers just came out. We were 7th again in the state, behind Hillsborough and places like that, Miami-Dade. That's crazy. I think we had three or four fire victims just this year that were rescued. Today's the anniversary of Sally. There were numerous swift water rescues, flooding rescues, and things a year ago. So we're busy. Fire's busy. EMS is busy. Dispatch is incredibly busy. Public safety here is a phenomenal organization, and I'm glad to see the tangible, real effort that's been accomplished and the contribution by the board to take that seriously and move forward. So thanks again.
And then, board, we also, of course, everybody knows we have 3 engines on the agenda today, along with 4 chassis for ambulance. So
thank you very much for that too. I think that's going to move forward. That's obviously, we've been talking about that for a long time. You guys have seen the pains of the aging fleet, so we're really looking forward to that.
I think one of them was a ladder or tower.
I think that was just a straight stick that we're looking at.
Okay.
I believe that's the case, but old ladder 12, those guys run their ever-loving tails off, and that truck's got to be.
But you guys are good with E1. We decided to go with E1 instead of the Pierces.
Man, I don't care what's on the front of that thing, as long as it works and it doesn't fail us and fail us in a fire. I really don't care what you put on the front bumper of it.
But one thing while we're discussing this is so that the public knows, we can't snap our fingers and make them come. There's like a 500-day lead time on this. It's incredible because of COVID.
The aerial was an extensive time. I think engines are a year or better out, something like that. It is extensive, which again just lends to the point of the proper planning and establishing that plan, following that plan year after year. Because we can't just run down to Sandy Sansing and pick one up,
we
so
sure can't.
It takes time.
But just so the public knows, because this is a question that I asked, no money is expended until that thing rolls up in Escambia County. We put a purchase order out because it's an incredible amount of money to purchase these apparatus, but we put the purchase order out, no money is expended until this thing rolls up. But 500 days is a long time to wait for equipment that we need.
It is, and I think we learned a lot of lessons with the last purchase, some of the issues faced, the committees that kind of organize or structure these trucks and whatnot. I personally think there's a little more we can do as we do a truck build out. Maybe part of that build out time, the length of time, allows us a better opportunity to inspect the trucks as they're coming in, especially from the fireman's standpoint, to be able to go down there and say, hey, this isn't quite right. This isn't the right size, or whatever the specs are. We should be hammering these folks. You pay that kind of money for a vehicle, we should be on them, and it should be absolutely perfect. It's taxpayer money, and we should be stewards of that and demand that we're receiving the right product. So, but again, thank y'all.
Listen, Eric, I knew there was a long lead time on a lot of these. I didn't realize it had gone up to a year and a half over. I think it was previously a year. But I think if we need to, so we also had some already ordered from when we redid the shop at Public Safety, though, right? So how many do we have?
We have 3 ambulances that are being refurbed now. We should expect those to come in about December. Then we have the 4 chassis that are on the agenda today that we will slide new boxes on, and those will probably take about a year to get. And then we have these 3 apparatuses.
And these are the ones that we reallocated the money from the shop?
Correct.
Okay, so,
Correct.
okay. Because I know we talked about it a couple months ago.
And we will expedite as quick as we can.
Well, I know we should, but I think if it's a year and a half lead time, if we've got some others, especially if we're not spending it for a year and a half.
Yeah.
If we need to go ahead and order.
It's an amazing.
And that's what I want to do. I want to go ahead and the next 4 for the next year, go ahead and get them processed throughout this fiscal year and get them rolling too. So that way we're rolling, so.
Okay. I think we need to do that, especially with the length of lead time,
Yeah.
so.
COVID, everybody uses it, it's
No,
COVID.
I know.
So
Hey,
anyway.
listen, I've seen the post from fire departments all across the country about having similar situations, so I'm sure they're all in the same situation we're in and trying to get apparatus, and so it's something that we need to work on, so.
So again, thank you for raising that issue and pushing that forward. Again, the plan, seeing it through, and most importantly, maintaining it, not losing sight of that vision in a year or two. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Underhill?
Hey, Nick. It's always imperative that we point out good leadership when it happens, because everybody else always point out the bad leadership when it happens. As soon as this dialogue flipped from the things that we disagreed on to the thing that we agreed on the most, which was take care of the junior people, it was like this thing went on turbo, and we got a resolution. It's important that everybody understand that as soon as the proposal that is now the new plan, as soon as that was put on the table, and it was a very aggressive, basically take all the money that we got available and put it to the junior people, your leadership said yes. And it was, and it's funny because I pointed out, because if we focus on the things we disagree on, we fight all day long. If we focus on the things we agree on, we resolve things very quickly. And I think that every fireman and every citizen should know that the union leadership, as soon as the opportunity was there to take care of the junior folks, they took it. And boom, this was done. We focus on the things we agree on and taking care of those working people, the folks that really, the ones that we count on in our time of need. Boom, we had a resolution in no time. So hats off to the union leadership for quite frankly doing what unions are supposed to do, and that's taking care of your junior troops.
I appreciate that acknowledgement. And that's something, the wage progression plan that we're looking at, that was something that was very encouraging, exciting. We know we got some big bites ahead. Governments have some big bites with the minimum wage law and all that as that moves. But the implementation of a mechanism to flow with that, not just for firefighters, but all county employees is incredibly important. I think that would be something across the board that all employees would say is they want to know where they're going, and they want to know there's a tangible path to move. And so that's another big bite that's taken by this board and the administration getting that done. I think that's a massive accomplishment and something we're very excited about and appreciative of. But, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Board, again, be mindful of Mayor Robinson's time. Appreciate him joining us this morning. We will jump down to CAR 3-3. Mr. Mayor.
Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to come forward at this point. We think we have a great facility that really operates, as well as a city facility, it operates as the county tennis courts for much of it. In fact, in round numbers, roughly about 45% of our membership is city membership, 45% county, 10% most other places, mostly Santa Rosa. But those courts are 55, those hard courts, they're 18 hard courts that are about 55 years old. We want to take them, in a sense, and turn them into 12 new hard courts and 7 clay courts. And to do that is about $2.6 million. We have $1.3 million. Much like we did with the soft courts when I was here as a county commissioner and we gave some money to move forward. We did that. We made the price for the soft courts consistent for county and for city. What we'd like to do here is work in a partnership with you. We already have 1.3. We're coming to you today to see if we could get 1.3 to put in that, and we would agree to put the prices for the hard court memberships the same city and county residents going forward. There will be an additional charge for those out of county residents, but again, for all Escambia County residents, that would be it. We feel like this is the public tennis center for really the county, and much of the things we're doing. This is going to be an incredible upgrade. We, like I said before, we've had these courts for 55 years. They have somewhat deteriorated, but we think we can put some really good hard courts in there with some other design features, new parking, new stormwater in it, and we think it will be a true amenity for all of our community. And more than anything else, I know that I'll quit getting calls from one Sally Burgash about her tripping over stuff at the court. So we are concerned about the safety, and we do have a number of people using it. Again, about half of our users almost are county residents. So we feel like working together toward this is a good thing in ways that we can, both jurisdictions can get together and create those amenities that create a better quality of life.
Great. Commissioner Berry?
Thank you. So if this happens, then anything that goes on at the center would be the same for city and county? Is that
Correct.
encompass all
Correct.
the services?
Correct.
Okay. And you and I did talk about it a few months back, and I told you, open-minded to discussing it with you. Unfortunately, this summer y'all had some summer camps over there, and they were all full. And I wanted Sloan to be able to go to camp over there, and she was unable to attend. So
call me anytime. I wish you'd called me.
Yeah, fine. Armani could have attended. I mean, there could have been a camp. I mean, it just didn't work out. So we had to find cheer camp at Catholic for her to go to. But
We're going to get her out there and play some tennis this next year. I can assure you. I'm going to talk to Brian Cooper. We'll be calling.
Robert, how are you proposing to pay for it?
I would appreciate ARPA money through this.
Commissioner, I think we can work that out. I'm not sure ARPA, but we have CARES money that we can certainly use.
Is that what you're saying, Robert?
If that's what he's saying is the best site, then yes.
All right. Do you have any? In good faith, do you have any a little bit of beach money to put with it? If the board put the $1 million, could you put the overage? Could you figure that out? You think you can make that work?
Yeah, I would just, I would say, I do have a, I am getting ready to bring forward an extra $1 million that we need for some drainage in the Ferry Pass area.
Okay.
But it's, again, I'm happy to have a little bit of skin in the game, because I think it's not only are 60% of my district city residents, so I'm helping them achieve that. But
sure.
Jeff probably gets to sleep a little bit easier at night knowing that someone had a good day on the court.
Well, and also, when you talked about the beach money, Steve, are you talking about a little TDC money? Because one of the things I'd like to discuss, and I know that you sit the board, is we do tournaments there. We do a lot of tournaments that bring people from all over the world. Some of the wheelchair tournament that my sons were the ball boys for. I mean, incredible tennis out there, guys in wheelchairs.
We can't have those wheelchair tournaments with the conditions the courts are going to.
Exactly. So
What Jeff said is making a good point, Robert.
Yeah, TDC money. I think we need to put a little TDC money toward it because it's legitimate.
Just remember, TDT money for infrastructure has a couple of strings attached at this point. There are hoops that have to be jumped through, including it has to be vetted by the TDC itself. And
Well,
there
I think we
also
can
has
make
to be
that happen.
an engineers review and that sort of thing.
But of course, Robert, you're going to find my support. I agree with what the mayor said. It's an excellent facility. I go out there myself and play very frequently. But I did hear you say the hard court cost would be the same, city and county. But the clay courts, I mean, right? Every time I go, it's $12 to get in there, man.
They're already the same. It's already the same.
Okay.
They're already the same because we helped out before.
Yeah.
Robert, I see where Commissioner Berry is going. If you, and I'm willing to help out as well, but if you, I think we're all going to have, from the $8 million, some discretionary money that we got to talk about from the opioid lawsuit, that we all are going to have pretty good discretion on how we use that in our district. I think that's important, and if we can if this is as a tourism, and as he said, the out-of-town tournaments and the thing that he's bringing in, if it fits that, let's try that. But I'll be supportive, but we just need to figure out.
The whole thing, Lumen, but I think it'd cover a portion.
Well, yeah, fine.
Okay. If Robert's going to throw some money into it, just bring a plan, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want a time? Do you want to bring it back to the next meeting? What you're kind of proposing? I don't mind giving you y'all the thumbs up that we can figure it out. I mean, one of the things, and Grover and I had many discussions about county and city stuff up here, and one of the things we figure out. I mean, I can't accomplish anything without support, among the majority of my colleagues. So it's important. I understand this is a big deal to your district. I'm sure I know for a fact I have some constituents that play tennis over there. I don't know that number, but I know that I have a few. And, you know, so if it's important to you, that's, you know, good enough to me, to be important to me, to figure out a way to make it work. I don't mind, you know, kind of, you know, giving the mayor a thumbs up today that we'll figure it out. If you want to maybe bring something back in 2 weeks with a definitive breakdown for funding sources, and maybe that'll give us a little bit of time to machinate, but, you know, behind the scenes and figure out what might work.
Perfect.
I would say yes. If you could give us if you give us the commitment today, we can at least begin moving forward and starting to put this out for bid and go forward. How you finance it, y'all can come back and figure out that portion between yourselves.
Board, what did the majority of y'all think? Lumen, what do you think about that? I'm all right with that. And Robert?
Perfect.
That's fair?
Yep, so, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be moving forward, but we'll be bringing it back on exact funding.
Okay, so you'll be back on the first meeting of October, or?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, sir.
This is, Director Rhodes, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the only facility that we have in Escambia County that could support a USTA tournament?
I mean,
yes.
Yes, I mean, it's
Director
pretty
Rhodes-
much it is the.
Yeah, Director Rhodes is saying that that's the case. So, you know, it's the only place in the whole county that can support that. You know, sports tourism is a critical part of our tourism. I would think that the Pensacola sports money, which of course is TDT money, should be where we start off with. And I will say that while, you know, the commissioner from District 4 has demonstrated his personal support for it, as you stated, Mr. Mayor, fairly certain that the users of this facility are throughout the county. You know, I know that most of the schools in my district don't have, you know, that serve my district don't have this kind of a facility. So for our young people who are wanting to get into tennis, this is where they can. So I would think that tourism development tax money, because of the tournament aspect, should be where we start, and the last money that we should go after would be discretionary. It physically happens to be located in your district. It's not a district asset, or a singularly or solely district asset, and for that reason, we should have to go into our discretionary as a last course of effort. So.
Right, and I mean, I think it's something similar to what we're doing with Ashton Brosnahan. You know, ARPA money was why I was thinking that, was because I think it does give us the leeway to, I mean, it encourages outdoor sports. And I know that we're looking for some upgrades on that, and I'm happy to support using some of those money to upgrade those facilities. Same principle is that, you know, we're looking at bringing in a huge event there. Same principle.
Yeah. So, Mr. Mayor, you've got unanimous support up here to move forward, and I think with the statements that we've all made about the sources of the money, I think that the administration shouldn't have any trouble coming up with a solution for us for our next meeting. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Grover, I've got a question before you leave.
Yeah.
So the city portion, you know, the 1.3 that y'all committed, is that something that you had, that was done previously, that you had the ability to do, or is that something that the city council actually took?
No,
action
it's already allocated. It's already allocated, and it's been set aside. We had it, obviously, we had it when we thought costs were one way, and it significantly accelerated on us. And so again, that's why you know what was thought to be 1 point. Again, I think we did the soft courts when I was here for $1.3 million. I think they sort of thought the same thing, but again, cost accelerated over time. And again, the longer we wait, the longer it continues to get more expensive. So, I mean, from our standpoint, we wanted to get it done, and the estimate that came back this spring was $2.6 million.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grover. All right, jump back up to card 2.
I just want to hold number 13, Mr. Chairman, just for discussion.
13, purchase orders for Corrections Department?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, there's a number of them that I'd like to hold for discussion.
Do we want to just go through the?
I'd rather.
How many is it?
We could each identify the ones we want to speak about. Did you say, Stephen, you had a whole bunch you wanted to talk
Yeah,
about?
I've got a number. I mean,
Okay,
some
well, yeah,
of
let's
them
do
are
one
the
by
same
one.
conversations, but.
Okay.
Can we just call out the ones that we want to hold and then move the balance, Mr. Chair?
You want to take it in groups of 5 or something?
Excuse me?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any issue 1 through 7. If nobody has an issue, we'll move those.
I'll hold 1 and 2.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, let's just go through them then. All right. 1, recommendation concerning 2021 Community Housing Development Organization Homeownership Infill Project. Commissioner May.
Thank you. Mayor DeClaire. Mayor, I just want to thank both of y'all for working hard on this project. It's been a long time coming, and I know we've been back and forth a lot, so I appreciate y'all. Finally, we're going to get these houses together, and so really appreciate you both working together to get this done. It's going to be important for home ownership for some single-family moms and some people that don't have houses, so thank y'all.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
Yep, so moved.
Okay, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Item 2, Commissioner May.
Yeah, and I've talked with Attorney Rogers. I just typically disclose because as a contractor, I do sub out work to Chavers Construction from time to time. I have no current contract with them. Have not had any in the last 3 years, but I always recognize if it's a vendor that I do business with. But she said I can vote.
Okay. Motion?
You move the item A and B?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. So I did not hear an issue with 3 through 7.
Move 3 through 7.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Recommendation 8 concerning 2021-2022 purchase orders for public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Administrator, we've expressed, I think the board has multiple times expressed concerns over the use of vendor registry on a consistent basis. Are we moving away from that? Or
We are working to move away from vendor registry, yes, we are.
All right, because it's still noted here as the source for a number of these, for a
Currently-
number of these POs.
Currently, that is our system, but we are planning to move away from that.
All right. There's also reference to preferred vendors. We don't have those. I mean, some of our sister agent, I mean, I know some of our sister agencies have what they call preferred vendors. What are we indicating by that narrative?
I would have to verify that, Commissioner. We don't have preferred vendors. We
Right.
have low bidders and
Right.
low quotes. That's how we award our work and award our services.
Right. So the narrative being described in that, I don't understand that. It's Eric or somebody, I mean, it's not a rhetorical question.
So
it's a real one.
CES is preferred vendor CES. We go with them because they give us cheaper rates than Motorola. As far as, I don't know the whole classification, I'll be honest with you, but if we use CES versus Motorola, we get a much cheaper rate by using our local people here. So I don't know what the definition of preferred vendor is. Randy, do you?
So it looks like you have it for Blue Arbor, you have it for ESS, you have it for.
Generators, yeah.
Yeah, but ideally, those are the source of original low bid contracts. And it's those contract numbers or bids that I would be expecting to be referenced in the spreadsheet or the chart.
You are correct. Currently, we are formulating our FY22 purchasing plan and addressing blanket purchase orders as they have been done in the past to create the competitive framework. Currently, right now, I'm keeping the trains on the tracks, so I have not delved into the weeds involving some of these blanket purchase orders, but those will be addressed in the near future.
Okay.
Some of the preferred contractors, and it probably just is a generic term that they have been using, as Eric mentioned before, between Motorola and, was it CES?
CES.
And CES. Both of them would have contracts, although we have not done a rider on either one of them. Although doing the market research on them, CES did have the lower rates, so they went with those because it's, I don't want to say proprietary maintenance, but
And that's
those are the two companies that do it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good enough narrative. I mean, that describes
I understand.
the
There's
rationale. but-
there's a lot of stuff in here that is going to get rewritten a lot more clear in the future. I'm still kicking over some rocks and finding items that probably are correct, but they're not explained well to provide the benefit of full understanding for the expenses.
Okay, okay, all right, that's good enough.
And Randy, if you can just state your name for the record, because they may not know who you are yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, I'm Randy Burns. I'm the purchasing manager for the county. I usually spend my time in a little hovel in the corner.
Just for the clerk's information, so she had your full name, you know.
Randy Burns.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no other questions, I move the item.
Okay.
Second.
Please vote.
All right, Eric, before you go too far.
Yes.
Commissioner May. Motion passes 5-0. Commissioner Berry.
Thank you. The next item, are we disputing this issue?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so
So we were forced to pay it, and then we're disputing it, and we did win it, but we're going to get paid, we'll get reimbursed in 6 months. It takes forever for AT&T to reimburse us, so we'll pay the bill and then get the reimbursement.
Is that the way that should work? Can't we just put on the invoice, you owe us the same amount of money? I mean, I don't. Is Kristen, do you know if Kristen's familiar?
It's what FDOT did to Skanska.
Yeah, it makes sense, though.
Tamika's got some more information, sir.
We didn't bring it to legal's attention. We directly disputed it with our representative, and they did come back and say that they were going to reimburse us because nobody knew what the $16,000 charge was. And due to being near at the end of the year, normally if I short pay, the clerk's office would say, okay, let's dispute. So we paid the bill, we disputed it, and it normally takes AT&T, like last year when we disputed a lot of charges, it takes them up to 6 months to reimburse us. So we pay it, and then we take it off of another future invoice.
I was going to say, if we've already worked out a deal with them, then they just credit the account. That's how it should work. It doesn't.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, let's bring this back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, AT&T's, they're fine, but let's bring it back in 2 weeks. And
Motion to drop then?
Yeah, I move to drop it.
Please vote. Motion to drop passes 5-0. Item 10, concerning the Escambia County Fire Rescue Work Comp.
Move the item.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, do we
Yes,
have
sir.
anybody from USI here?
I don't believe so.
I mean, they have a lot of items on the agenda.
They're making a lot of money.
Did you want to talk about, I was going to move it.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I want to talk about it
Okay,
regardless.
then I withdraw my motion.
All right. Is it, you say there's not anybody from USI here?
Not that I'm,
Oh,
I haven't-
is Mark here, or? Okay, Crystal, I guess, okay. Somebody?
Yep. All right, Randy?
Is there questions about the application of what USI is or what we're doing with the USI contract?
Yeah, so it's not specific to this one issue, and Mr. Chairman, with all due respect to your relationships, so I just want to understand our relationship with USI. It's broadened over the last couple of years. I mean, this is before you're coming to our employment, but so my understanding, I just want to make sure that I understand exactly what our current relationship is with them. They're providing advice on the commercial line side, and that's the $130,000 a year that we're paying them for the advice and shopping the markets, that kind of stuff. That's a cumulative on our commercial lines, and it may be a better Crystal question. And all right, that's correct on the advice on that side, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then we're paying them $125,000 for advice standalone on the health side.
Correct.
Okay, all right, and on the health side, it's clear that there's being self-insured, that kind of takes any commissions off the table, but there's not any other compensation that's going to them for the placement of any of our
Correct.
employee benefits, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Do we know that's the case on the commercial line side where they're also providing the advice?
Correct. So for, there's a couple different POs here too. So for
Yeah,
like
there's
the
5 or
130.
6, yeah.
Yes,
But-
sir.
All right. So we know on none of the commercial lines, they're not receiving any compensation on that?
Correct.
Okay.
No, sir.
All right. And, but inside those, there was not a lot of backup for the purchase order and the contract itself. There was, the only one that really had a lot of backup was the auto policy for ECAT, which outlined the PRA or the Preferred Government, Insurance Trust, the PRA risk advisors. It identified what they charge us for admin and then, what they pay as a commission on their side for the reinsurer. I want to say they were charging 9.5% for admin and 3.85% for a commission that they pay for placement on their side. Those figures, just kind of based on looking, throughout the state, seem to be a negotiable thing between Preferred Government Investment Trust or PRA advisors and the county or whoever is providing us advice. I just want to make sure, Robert, you may be tuned into this already. Do we know that they're trying to negotiate those fees down on our behalf as well? Because those are obviously, increasing our premium if we pay a higher admin fee.
We typically would. I'm going back to when I was in that role. We would, if we, like for the jail liability, we would push the person that we would have to use to cut their rate. And that commission is not, sometimes they will not let you go net, which we then disclose and work it out with accounting and everything like that. I would say this, if they had been taking commission while I was working for them and not having it be disclosed, I couldn't be up here today. I wouldn't be up here today, right? It was, and that was one of the things that I tracked was making sure that every time a policy was purchased, that it was net.
Okay.
And we did the same thing, or at the time did the same thing with the city, that they didn't necessarily write us a check for it. We would take the commissions and then take it off of whatever was owed and then settle up or just keep a running tab of where we are for the length of the contract. And so we do the same thing here. I think that happened last year with the VFIS, is that we didn't realize there was commission in it until after this board had already taken action, but they only billed for the lesser amount.
I only looked at the current fiscal year. I didn't go back to our older purchase orders. I'm assuming that they're all net now because I don't see any of that. I don't see any of that adjustments in the current fiscal year that
Some
we're
of them
ending.
they don't have to go to this. So that's probably PGIT's cost for their program and what they do in order to buy the insurance. I know because I was in that role when that policy came up, they were one of the few that I could find to even quote the policy because we didn't have other lines with them. They would all want GL, but we don't do GL because we have sovereign immunity. And so PGIT was one of the ones that I could even get to quote it. Again, the jail liability is one that the markets have dried up. Most of the times, we're not going to that admin side isn't included in it because we're going straight to the carrier.
Okay. And so I'm assuming any of these actual carriers that is going to be included, we're going to see that somewhere because it's just, it's not in the backup for most of these POs today, but we're going to see that somewhere if that exists.
It should.
Okay.
And I say it because, there are some times where you don't know what that commission is to the wholesaler. That is in their agreement. We, of course, work on it with them. I know we work on it with our property guy. to try to give us the best rate. I know we've worked on it with the jail.
Don't they have to disclose that to us, though?
It's, USI discloses theirs, but, when we took over the programs, so what USI has done is, much like this current one, I think I got a call about a week before it was up, saying, hey, there's this policy we don't know about, and USI, found a policy for it, and we didn't charge any extra on our commission. The one time that they've gone up was when we took over work comp, because that does take a lot of resources and as you manage those claims and help the client.
Is that when we amended the contract to go up 30,000, to
Yes.
go up from 90,000 to?
Yes.
Okay.
Was when we took over work comp. Same thing as when they've picked up other policies, just the placement of the policy, they haven't increased the fee. So when we did public officials or things like that, we haven't increased that. So I don't know, is that, so what I was going with though was that when we placed VFIS, at the time, that was not under risk management. And so we found that there was commission in that. And again, it was something that we took out and went net on, that the previous broker had been taking commission on.
All right, and last, okay, that's good enough. I would think that when we're placing these, that we've got the ability to have the policy fee get negotiated out of there. We've got policy fees on 3 of them that we invoiced this year, we got $390,000 policy that we paid $1,000 policy fee. We paid $800 policy fee on 2.2 million. I mean, it's surprising to me that we, in those purchase amounts, that we can't get those policy, that we can't negotiate ourselves out of those policy fees.
Yeah.
And excuse me for jumping in, just for your edification, we are currently in the process right now of reviewing and evaluating new general lines insurance agents.
For the broker, yeah.
For the brokerage.
Yeah, we're finishing our I believe, finishing our 5th year of that contract.
Right.
And that's
Right.
including those renewals and everything.
So there will be negotiative aspects that will be allowed for that.
But we've, generally speaking, one part, and, I'm sure you've seen this, but one part of our top line of our purchase order is that, we're treated as a preferred client, to be offered the best rates. It's one reason that we shouldn't be paying for shop supplies when we have work done at a repair place. We shouldn't be paying these incidental fees. We should be treated as a preferred client, and, 6-figure premiums, 7-figure premiums, I would think also qualify as a preferred client. We should be avoiding, any type of ancillary fee that gets put on top of an invoice,
And
I would expect.
And I would say that is something you work out with the carrier and not USI. I mean, USI can negotiate
Well,
for
I expect
us.
them to negotiate
Right.
on our behalf.
Yes, and I know we do, and sometimes they don't, sometimes they just say, no, it's not. VFIS has one that we've pushed back, that I've pushed back on before, that they said no. But I think we can have Mark talk to them, again, because we've been open. I've tried to avoid any communication with those guys in the last couple months. But we can have Mark bring that up with them and see what they can do. Any further discussion?
I move the item.
Okay. Please vote. Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Underhill off the dais. Item 11, concerning exercise of the first of 2 possible 1-year renewal periods related to Escambia Community Clinics for
Any-
non-emergency and emergency oral health services.
Any speakers or any issues?
No, sir.
All right. Stephen, you want to talk about it, or do you want me to
No,
move
I was going to second your motion.
it? All right, I'll move it in the affirmative.
All right, please vote.
Second. Oh.
Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Underhill off the dais. 12,
Move the item in the affirmative.
Second.
any discussion? Please vote. Jeff, you wanted to talk 13, right?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
All right,
we're up
let
to
me, All right, motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Underhill off the dais. Go ahead.
Yep. Chief Powell, I know that you're in attendance here, and this is a gigantic expenditure. Of course, you know, obviously I understand jail medical and all that it encompasses, and I know it's one of the biggest cost drivers that we have over there, but I wanted to check in, and sometimes, obviously, you know, it makes sense to outsource some of these things, and I know there are entities out there. I know that, I want to say about a year ago, the county was meeting with at least one of them, and they bring in a holistic solution in terms of staffing, acquisition of medicines. I mean, and it can save money. And I just wanted to ask if you were involved in those discussions. I know it was the previous administrator. She's not here anymore, but I know that at least one team came out to look at the facility, the way it was being operated, and brought forward some recommendations and some ideas that could have saved money and provided better care, and most importantly, continuity of staffing, because I know we really struggle with the nursing and obviously some medical aspects. So I just want to know, I mean, we're bringing a lot of big pieces here, 2 million to Baptist, I understand it, but was there thought given to outsourcing this to achieve savings and maybe better continuity of service?
The company you're speaking of did tour the facility. We had a couple conversations with them after the fact, and then that was kind of the end of it. We didn't hear anything, no proposals or anything back from them.
They did not give us a proposal?
I never received anything from them as a proposal.
Hey, Jeff,
that's
sorry,
not
real
the
quick.
information that I have.
I got a packet earlier this week. Angela, are you able to go up and grab that, please? Did we all get that? I didn't know. I was going to ask you, did we all get it?
No, I didn't get one so far as I've been.
Okay, so it may be in your office then, because we did have a packet come in
I
earlier this week.
really, again, this is a big expenditure. I know we have to have all of these things, but, I just know from experience, not just here, but 10 years on the school board, some of these important services, sometimes you can hire the people, sometimes you have to use staffing companies, sometimes you have to use a blended model to get what you need. We did that with great effect. I believe we do it here with great effect, utilizing Blue Arbor personnel where necessary, and then organic personnel that are regular full-time employees of the county. But this is a big expenditure, a lot of money, high profile. I know recently we lost an inmate, a prisoner, obviously while he was at the hospital, and there were some other situations. But these situations bring a lot of scrutiny on us. And if there is a better way to do it, where we outsource some of these functions and hold the contractor's feet to the fire, I know those can be very effective in federal contracting, very effective at state level for some functions. So you're saying you never got a proposal back?
I never received anything, no, sir.
Where?
They were out of Tampa, I believe.
Purchasing director, Mr. Burns? Is that your name? What's your name again? Burns?
Burns.
Mr. Burns.
Randy Burns.
Randy, did we get a package back from a company that spent about a year studying our issues here at the Escambia County Jail? And
I have not had.
you have not had it.
or
Wes, are you
anyone-
familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am not. I'm
Wow,
not aware.
okay.
The one we got was from Birmingham, I think.
If this isn't is this time sensitive? Because I want
All of
to,
these are, yes, sir. It keeps us rolling come 1 October.
yeah, well,
Commissioner, if I may.
Yeah.
We have a comprehensive plan moving forward out of purchasing where we will be reviewing the entire county spend by commodity and sub-commodity codes to identify areas where either from best practices or personal experience, we can start formulating plans that may not have been attempted in the past.
Okay.
To economize our spend and consolidate. Though jail medical health will be one of the ones that I will be discussing with the chief. So you are correct, everywhere I have been, there has been outsourced. You usually cannot get medical along with your pharmaceutical or your dental in the places I've been, so those become how you want to blend it, so to say. But that's something that is on the schedule to do.
yeah, I'd really,
And Jeff, I mean, and Chief, I mean, I think medical is one of the most expensive things. I'd like to see you do the analysis because I believe that there's
Absolutely.
some partnership with community health.
Sure.
With the prescription program.
Yeah.
Most of these people get Medicaid and Medicare. I mean, when you.
Although
can
once
par-
they hit the jail, that, we can't use that.
Well, not Medicare, Medicaid, but there is a federal prescription program that could be brought, that they could utilize.
Let me ask you this.
And-
Let me just, if I could, real quick,
Yeah, go.
because I would like to take a closer look at this. If we brought this back to the next meeting, does that,
These have to be in effect when we come into 1 October. These are our POs to continue to operate.
You don't have to go into a year contract with them. You could just.
No, all these are, these are all existing contracts or purchases.
is there a holdover provision that would,
That I don't know, sir.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
We've, in years past, we've had, we.
Stephen, I would like to take a close look at this, man, and if you would support me, I'd like to drop it and bring it back at the first meeting.
Yeah, I have some questions about it before we drop it.
Okay.
Before.
Yeah,
when
please,
y'all are-
yeah.
When y'all are done talking, I have some
Yeah,
questions.
yeah. No, well, I'm done. I want to take a very close
Jeff,
look.
I'm not arguing with you to drop it. Go ahead. If that's what you want to do, drop it.
Well, but I want to hear from Stephen. He might have thought of something I haven't, but I want to see the package because it was my understanding there was significant savings that were brought to bear. And, you know, I know there's been turnover and things like this. And Chief, you know I support what you're doing over there. But if there's a way that we could save a significant amount, and we're talking about up to $1 million, you know, I'm ready to go in terms of outsourcing. So, yeah, I'll come back to this after you guys.
Jeff, I mean, I think either way, that takes some time to do that. I mean,
a
that's
year
not gonna,
process.
I mean, I mean, I don't know if it's a year process, but, I
Well,
mean, it's not gonna be
The thing
3
is, they were
weeks.
doing it a year ago. It was a year ago this was happening, and I think I remember speaking at a meeting saying, I'm all in support.
But we'd still have to go through our procurement process.
Yeah, understood. So I guess a lot of this, what I'm going to do over the next 2 weeks, if we're successfully able to drop it, is I'm going to look at the after action and really kind of figure out what happened, because we need to save every penny. And jail medical is a big expense. And we need, more importantly, we need to have a continuity of service. You know, when we're scrambling to get nurses here and there, and, you know, there's no continuity. But I'll defer to Commissioner Berry and Commissioner May, but then I'd like to come back and consider dropping it.
So I mean, it's certainly a big expense, and it's even, you know, to me, I mean, it's even more important than a big expense because it's by far the largest delta in the budget the last 2 years. I mean, that's where we're seeing huge increases. And, you know, what concerns me, okay, the invoices and bills that come in, just pick one at random from Baptist, you know, who's reviewing those invoices before they're paid? Do you have a dedicated person that's managing that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He works for medical. He's the one that manages, negotiates price down. If something comes in that is exorbitantly high out what we normally have as standard pay, he makes those phone calls and works them.
Have you seen a decrease in that efficiency that's resulted in these much larger invoices and POs?
Unfortunately not, sir. The severity of the illnesses that we're seeing, multiple cancer cases, dialysis daily on multiple inmates, or weekly, I should say. The frequency of the need is just grown expeditiously.
Okay. But Jeff, I don't have any issue dropping that. I'll be back in 2 weeks. The business will continue. That's one thing I've learned up here in 9 years. Business will continue. It'll all work out.
Well, in that case, I'm going to take a very, very close.
Right.
Absolutely.
So Jeff, I mean, what's gonna change in the next 2 weeks that?
Well, at least I'll have the information. I don't have a copy of this. I just got it. Thank you, Commissioner Bender, for providing it to me. And I'm not saying it wasn't mailed to me, it didn't make its way to me. But I knew this was out there. That's why when I saw this, you know.
What is the name of that company, sir? if I may?
NAFCare.
That was the company that was here.
All right. Again, this came in like a day or two ago.
Yeah. So I don't know, I need to know more about
Jeff,
this.
regardless of what company has submitted, you're right, we got to find savings.
We've got to find
And it's
savings.
going to have to be a collaborative effort. As he said, of people sitting there with cancer. I mean, we had a lady that died in our jail of COVID for shoplifting. I mean, she was being there detained for petty theft for stealing food out of a grocery store. I mean, so when I agree with you, Jeff, we have to look at analysis of how we're spending what, almost $3 million in almost hospital visits.
Yeah, it's
I
a
mean,
lot of money.
and then we're doing our healthcare, our mental health. We have multiple partners that we
340
fund.
grand right
We
there.
fund Lakeview, we give exemption, we help with bonds. I mean, should we be getting a reduced rate
need
on
to be
mental
getting
health? And why shouldn't Lakeview be doing that if we're good partners?
Exactly.
We
Preferred
gotta-
rate, just like the last one.
Yeah,
Preferred
preferred
rate.
rates. I mean,
Preferred
because
rate.
when they want something from the county, they're here asking us. And so, we're subbing a lot of those things out. And so I think we got to figure out how we're going to save money, because I'd much rather, Robert, save $1 million or $1.5 million and do the day reporting center that Mr. Williams came forth. Or spend $1 million on workforce to train people who are incarcerated to go out and have a healthy life.
You got to save it to have it.
Right, and to case manage them. So, I mean, and Chief and I probably talk, once a week at least. I just would, ask that we just kind of look at our overall delivery and see what can we do to save some money.
So here's
So
what I've
what
been-
would rental care group be of Southeast? What related to emergency? What would that be?
Probably if it's the rental equipment that we use rather than buy.
Not a rental. I'm sorry. RENAL related to emergency. Is that equipment?
It very well could be, sir. We rent a lot of the equipment because we don't need them one-time uses. I'm not
Oh,
sure
it's
which
the-
one it is. We do have some rental.
it's the dialysis people?
Yes, sir, rent.
Have we brought that in-house yet? Do we have a dialysis machine?
We have a room, no, we don't. We'd have to have licensed staff to run it, and there's a big old thing. My intention is to work with them, to have them come to our facility and perform it. It was present in years past, and then the partnership broke apart, trying to rebuild that.
So, Limit, what I've been working on with FAC and actually Representative Andrade is how they lose their Medicaid eligibility when they come in, and
We got to fix that.
we got to fix. I mean, here it is. It's and a lot of these are violent crimes that's going to be in the state's custody, and then we're responsible for their medical while they're with us awaiting trial. We've got to fix that. So that's one of the things that we're working on at FAC, to be a legislative request on behalf of all the counties. There was a request last year that didn't go very far, but we're going to try it again this year. And I mean, that's how I'm addressing it.
Oh, and it's legislative with that, Robert. We're in our public safety, and the chief would probably agree with me. Many times their sentence in the state is so backlogged that they leave sick patients with us, for 45, 90. I mean, I heard yesterday, they could stay there over 90 days. Correct, chief?
We've got a death sentence inmate that's in the hospital now, been there for an extended period of time. He's back on appeal, and he's costing us a lot of money.
A lot of money. So, yeah, so we got to work through all those things.
No, they didn't send to the right person.
Chief, one other question. Do we use West Florida Hospital as well, or just Baptist and
It's
Savior?
primarily Baptist. We do occasionally, when they're full. In the past year, we've had a couple inmates there. But it's primarily Baptist is our first go-to, and then Sacred Heart.
And, and the only other thing, I would ask you to take a look at, Chief, whether it's, the welding instructors or the GED instructors, let's look at the measurements and outcomes.
Yes, sir.
And if it's being successful, I mean, if it's state mandated, obviously, or county ordinance, I mean, but to just have these instructions with no results, I mean.
No, we
to me,
get
kinda-
good results from the welders as well as the GD program when it's fired back up now. It was shut down for a while because of COVID, and we're leaning back into it again.
And the temporary medical care is just because you don't have enough.
It's the ebb and flow of staffing that causes us to reach out to them and utilize them. It's primarily driven by pay, to be completely candid. It's hard for us to get a nurse to come from the hospital, work at the jail, and the pay gap there.
I mean, are there things that we could save on, like laundry inmate, that we could do that in-house?
We do, no, all our laundry's done in-house.
Okay. Okay, that's just supplies that you get
That's,
from them.
that's materials, yes,
So
sir.
I just, okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. And I just want to make sure that this is not going to inhibit you from doing what you need to do at the jail while we take this pause. It appears that I'll have support to do it, but I think a $5 million expenditure needs a deeper dive. I'm getting information that there was a package sent, that it was sent earlier in the month. So,
Okay.
and I just see a package that was FedExed to Commissioner Bender, but I never got it.
Right.
And so,
No, I-
so I move that we drop and bring this back to the first meeting so we can investigate.
Second.
Okay. But, Chief, we said there was no interruption in services.
That's the financial side of the house. I don't know that. I'll have to ask my folks.
I mean, I think typically they'd give us over a week to pay a bill, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please vote.
Yeah, everybody will get paid.
Popped up again, is that right? Okay, there it goes. All right, motion to drop passes 4-0.
Thanks, guys.
On 13.
We'll bring it back.
14, or let me ask this, what's the next item that anybody have, wants to be held, or? So is it for-
28, so next one I want to ask something about.
I'm sorry?
28, so we can do
Okay.
14 to 27 if you want, if nobody has issues.
IT Thompson, let's have some trucks, bucket truck, the ambulances, and the fire trucks.
28.
That's also our,
Mr. Chairman,
so Commissioner Barry, I take that sorry, Commissioner May?
I just have a question about number 17.
Okay.
Hold it.
All right, so let's take 14.
Move 14 to 16, and
Yes,
then
sir.
18 to 27 in the
Second.
affirmative.
Okay. 14 to 16 and 18 to 27.
Yeah, and Pat,
Now, hold on, let's vote on this real quick.
I mean, well, I want to hold 16 too.
All right, hold on.
Please. Steve, would you
All
amend
right,
that motion? Just
let's just stay in order then. Let's just do.
Move item 14 and 15.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. Items 14 and 15. Passes 5-0. 16, Commissioner May.
Thanks. Hey, Pat, how are you?
Good morning.
Yeah, just a question. Why did they have in the monitoring a change order for $700,000 here? Is that a change order for this debris monitoring services?
We,
The original contract was $7,462,239.13, and then there was a change order for $700,000.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. We needed some more money to be able to close out the debris monitoring piece. So the $700,000 will enable us to finalize all the invoicing associated with debris monitoring consulting.
Did they not give a set fee on the monitor? How did that monitoring fee work from?
The monitoring fee was based on a percentage of the debris that was forecast to be removed. And so that estimated amount was a percentage based on current models associated with FEMA, Army Corps. And so that initial estimate, the board approved. However, we were able to come in significantly reduction of that. We were adhered to our schedules, and we enforced the contractor to do what he was supposed to do. So we significantly reduced that amount that was initially forecasted. So this $700,000 will clean that issue up to where we'll be able to complete the invoicing for the debris monitoring consulting services.
And on 17, Pat?
Yes, sir.
The 500, this is a different contract for Thompson to help us get reimbursement. That was a separate contract?
It's
for another half a million.
It's under a new contract. For example, the board voted to bring Thompson back on for the upcoming season, and also just to have them on board for consulting for disaster debris. And so what this does essentially issues a purchase order underneath that new contract to continue those services, and they will continue to help us answer the request for additional information that FEMA continues to ask of the county for PA grants management going forward with Hurricane Sally.
So they're helping us do the worksheets for this 541 basically on our
Yes, sir, they
reimbursement. And what's our reimbursement number? What does this number represent? A percentage, a fat fee of
Right now, it's based on an estimate that they have provided to the county, and we will only be charged exactly the hours and the resources that are spent, but this is a cost estimate in order for us to get a purchase order in place.
So do we know what our total amount of our worksheets are?
No, sir, I don't. I don't at this time. And as far as the consulting piece, I do have a figure for the debris. We're able to put a period behind that sentence, but as far as going forward with the PA grants management, a lot of that just depends on the request for information that FEMA comes back to the county associated with that reimbursement process.
And so on this consultant, it's just technical advice, right?
Yes, sir.
Working with, okay. It's not a lot we can do at this point. You know, we're paying $500,000. You could almost bring on a staff person who is an expert in worksheet consulting. I mean, and paying $500,000. I mean, we just paid them $8 million. Now we're paying them another $500,000. I mean, for something just really, it's just a consultant technical. I mean, I have reservations with it, but I just think it's way too much money to be paying for technical assistance for worksheets that literally you can hire an expert and pay them, you know, $100,000 and be able to do that exact thing. That's fine, Pat.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so to 16 through 27 then?
I'd like to vote on 17 independently.
All right, so let's take 16 then.
Move 16 in the affirmative.
Second.
All right, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. 17?
Any other?
I'll move 17 in the affirmative.
Second for discussion, I just want to explicitly say I don't disagree with my colleague. I don't know what the other
Yeah, I don't know what the
solution is. I mean,
answer is,
that's, you know.
It's way too much money for some technical advice.
Yeah.
We've been through it with Dewberry, writing worksheets, Commissioner. I mean, with no end in hand, how much money am I going to get for paying you this $500,000 consulting fee? What is my ROI for the citizens on these worksheets? I mean, that's fair to know. I mean, you don't blindly give somebody $500,000 for a consulting fee, not knowing what you're going to get in return.
Yeah, sure. I don't, again, I don't know what the other
Yeah. Liz, wanna add
alternative
to
course of
that?
action is. And,
I'd love to.
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Well, go right ahead, Liz.
Just
Sorry,
to add
hold on,
some
wait, wait.
additional
Sorry,
context.
Stephen, did you have anything else?
Yeah, so, you know, and, I mean, I think your points are very well founded. You know, those of us that, you know, were here, you know, for some number of years, especially the situation with Dewberry, you know, what often happens, and I'm sure will happen, you know, beyond our periods of service. You know, we will, whoever sits in the seats and sits on the dais in leadership will, you know, find faults with the decisions that we made, and you know, we will be to blame for things. But, you know, we expressed a lot of reservations at the time hiring Dewberry, and we're told that that's, you know, what we had to do. We had to do this, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And I know we've discussed this, but the back end of it that we haven't necessarily discussed was what happened 4 and 5 years later when other people came in and they found that all the things that we were told weren't necessarily happening, and now all of our problems with reimbursement were related to Dewberry. That they found, you know, boxes of worksheets that were physically stored in the basement in our building that were there for a number of years and never reviewed, never submitted, never. So, yeah, I mean, I get it, and my fear is that, you know, 5 years from now or 4 years from now, whoever's in these seats and in leadership is going to look back and, you know, find fault with this, and I hope we don't find a box of Thompson's papers, you know, in the basement. But that's my fear, and I think it's a well-founded one because it's happened in a very similar situation, literally, recently. So, but again, I don't know what any alternative is.
Yeah, with every disaster, a couple of things are guaranteed. There's going to be an audit, there's going to be an investigation, and quite frankly, those who are going to be left with the scrutiny are the 5 people who were elected at the time. And quite frankly, you have, you know, responsibility without a lot of authority. And we've been around enough disasters to understand exactly how it works. And there's going to be scrutiny that comes there beyond this year, next year, or the next year. And
Well,
so
I mean, there's
we
a-
know that there's going, I mean,
There's a tremendous amount going on right now, just 100 miles east of us.
right,
I mean,
exactly.
a tremendous amount. That's, and it-
And there's scrutiny going on here.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, so.
Commissioner May, if I might interject, my understanding is that we're on the cusp, I don't know, I don't want to speak out of turn, is it okay to, that we're on the cusp of receiving a significant portion of the money we expended for debris hauling, is that correct?
That is correct.
Is in large part based upon the paperwork that was submitted and that you processed from Thompson. So, I mean, I get it, that's a lot of money, and that was the question that I had, Commissioner May, yesterday when I had my meeting with staff, and I asked that question because I'm aware of what happened with Hurricane Michael a couple years ago, and I'm aware of some other issues that have happened. But I think maybe something that might work is we get that money in our bank and then bring this back once we see the money. Is there any problem with that? Because I'm all for that. They did the work, and how much are we getting next week?
Well, I don't know about next week
Well,
specifically.
when is it coming? I hear it's coming imminently.
But we have two very large debris projects. One is 44 million, one is 18 million.
And did
that
we
are
not just
through the
hear
CRC.
that some of that's coming?
That
We hope
should
within
be
about
coming-
6 to 8 months, Commissioner. We hope
6
within
to 8 months?
6 months, give or take. It could be sooner,
Okay.
it could be a little
Well,
later.
the
Never mind.
18 million one just moved, so it might be.
Maybe Thompson waits 6 months for his, I don't know.
Some clarification on this particular one. So we use Thompson for the debris monitoring piece of it. That, as he said, has a period on it. We're done with it. They are not submitting any paperwork to FEMA. That is all me.
Is that part of the 44 million that you just mentioned?
Yes.
Their
So
work?
Also, no. So we have $100 million in insurance coverage.
Okay.
Actually, that is covering all of Thompson's consulting piece, and anything above and beyond that is a Cat Z to FEMA. This particular piece of it actually is coming from facilities and risk management, because we were having some difficulty with insurance evaluating our damages and giving us the value that we felt like was necessary.
Okay.
So one of the things our risk management department did is brought in Thompson Consultants to go out to our buildings and our facilities and actually write up a PEA or evaluate the work, sat down with the insurance companies and actually went through that, and has brought in a lot more money from the insurance
Okay,
companies.
so they're about to get $500,000. How much did they bring to the county?
Quite a bit. We'll
Like-
have to get with Mark on that, and I will get you a
Ballpark,
number.
ballpark.
I
2,
don't
3,
even know.
5? We don't know.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Well,
the
look, I'm going
difference.
to defer to my counterparts because it is a lot of money, but I have no issue with what they've done.
But it is insurance eligible, just to be clear.
And that's fine. Listen, I deal with public adjusters every day. I mean, I'm in that business. But, you know, it's percentage based. You know what I mean? So a flat fee of $541, and they're not telling me how much they're going to get. What can I perform in-house? We hired Dewberry, and I'm going to tell you, we almost had to have Amy performing it in-house. And then when she got here, she had to clean some things up.
So
And
what
the
are you thinking?
And the
How-
consultants are long gone.
Are you thinking
So
put this
so it's
off?
not a flat fee, it's only work charged.
Say what?
Correct.
It's not
It's a
flat-
percentage.
It's,
Their invoice is line item from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. I sat with Mark and risk management, and we went through this.
Sure.
From this time to this time, and it's only the time they're actually working are we billed
so
for.
Thompson has acknowledged that the county will only be charged for work actually performed and required by the county.
So, Lumen, what are you thinking?
Well, Thompson, someone would have to tell me what's the projected number that we're going to get.
You need more information before
Yeah,
you...
before I
We
vote
can
for
get
it.
that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you pass it, I'll be
Well, I
on.
mean, does the house burn down if we wait 2 weeks on this?
The house will not burn down.
I mean, I
I'll
get it.
support
I get it, Jeff, that they've done the debris, although I don't agree with it. You know, I mean, but all of these out-of-town guys, they rip you off and leave town anyway. And that's just the truth. But, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, just blanketly vote for a blanket purchase order for $500,000 for some consulting work.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend my motion.
Yes, sir.
Move that we drop this item and bring it back in 2 weeks.
The second.
Okay, please vote to drop 17. Pat, when's your last day?
Today.
It's scheduled October 22nd is the Friday. My
Okay.
actual 90-day notice runs through Sunday, October 24th, sir.
All right, well, again, thank you so much.
Thanks, Pat. You did a great job doing the debris removal. I know that was a stressful time.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. my job pales in comparison to yours and the rest of this board. I thank you guys for your service, and I really appreciate the monumental task you take to lead this county. Thank each and every one of you.
Thank you.
And none of us go unscathed when doing disaster work, because everyone's going to be audited and looked upon. So, Pat, you did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Pat, you you literally do one of the least sexy things that this county has to do. I mean, there is no way to do the work that you do in a way that people think, man, you're awesome. You know, out of sight and out of mind is the best that you can hope for. And that's a tough way for people to work. Your whole team, I mean, those guys that get on that equipment and go up there and keep that stack covered every night and keep us in compliance with all the rules, and we do. Yeah, you guys really do the hard labor of government, and I am disappointed. Everybody's season of service comes to an end. I'm sure you won't be. You'll probably miss it to some extent. You always miss stuff, even if it was hard. And but I'm very appreciative of your service as a commissioner and as a citizen, because I've used those services a lot. You know, I also, we had Meredith just up here working on a project that she was bringing home in Commissioner May's district, and we're going to be losing Meredith in roughly that same time frame. And it's just, they're truly great people that I'll remember long past my season of service, and you're on that list. So
Thank you very much, sir. I'll be sure to pass your kind words on to our staff. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I think I heard 18 to 27 then.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we didn't finish the vote on the last item.
That's because I'm lazy. How's that?
Okay, so the motion to drop passes 5-0. All right, now I'll take 18 to 27.
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Bergosh off the dais. 28 was, sorry?
Mr. Chairman, trying to see if Heaton is still on the pricing agreement.
We did do 27, we're on 28. I think Commissioner Bergosh has something.
Joy, yeah, hey, is Heaton still on any of the items on the pricing agreement? I don't see their name.
Who's that?
Heaton, did they renew?
On 28?
Yeah.
Don't believe they are. No, sir. They came off pricing agreement.
Are we sure?
I mean,
I just don't see their name, and they previously had been, and I just want to make sure I don't vote on it.
They're not
Pull
on
something
there.
back, Steve?
No, okay, so they didn't respond this time, just beyond the
That's
pricing
right.
agreement. Okay, all right, so I'm good with that, Mr. Chairman. My issue is on item B within 28 for CSX. So I've got a couple of phone calls in, trying to get some communication about an issue, and I'd like to pull B out and see if I may be more successful, at least having a line of communication.
I know we've had to do this before, so.
Yeah.
And then also, Commissioner Berry, just for the record, you were looking for Heaton because there may be a conflict. We are not aware that they are in this, and so we see no conflict for you. Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'm just trying, clearly state that we have no indication that they're in this and that you have no reason to sustain, so.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like I would take a motion for.
Move 28 with the removal, with pulling item B to come back at a future date.
Second. Okay. Please vote. Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner May off the dais. We do have a speaker on 29. Barbara?
I haven't been here a while, so all this is new to me.
Yeah, how you doing? Good to see you, Barbara.
And since we're almost over, I'd appreciate it if you indulge me a little bit. I hadn't been here in a while. Excuse me, my name's Barbara Mail, and I was in the hospital Tuesday, so I couldn't make it to the budget. And I will try to be here the next time. I wanted to talk to you just a few minutes, and this has to do with item 29 concerning Sally and the purchase orders for Sally. America's still America, right? My tax dollars are for roads, infrastructure, fire department, police, jail, and your salaries. Some of us are on a fixed income, and when money's taken out for outside agencies, which we all know you have $50,000 discretionary funds to do with what you want. When citizens are asked to pay for these outside agencies in the general fund, and I may be wrong on this, you get to pay for your favorite 501c3s and with what oversight? I would like to know the name of the funds of our outside agencies and who.
So Barbara, just sorry.
No, I'm going with Sally.
Okay.
Because all this, if we would watch what we give to the outside agencies, we might have a little bit more money to fund for the infrastructures and everything else that we will need for Sally. Our roads, our fire department, our EMS. And so I'm asking that with that, I think that right now with the way the weather's being, it's erratic. We're having more storms come, and being in the TPO for quite a while, I do know that we do need the money. We do need the money for this extra infrastructure. When we had the rain, 28 inches, we need that extra buffer. And if we would make sure that we had that for the hurricanes and for the tropical storms, or just day-to-day like today, it was flooding downtown. So I would ask that we would concentrate on those more than we concentrate on, say, for instance, $200,000 for a program that has not been audited or overseen, which another $800,000 has been given, give or take a few thousand, from the state. I'm just asking, since it's our money, I would like to know how they're spending that money. And therefore, if we know how they're spending it, fine, they're doing a good job. Otherwise, let's take that money and put it to our roads, infrastructure, fire department, police, jails, because unfortunately I have an issue with the jail, and it's matter of fact, it's pretty good. I think you got some stuff in there, and I know this might have something to do with Sally. But by the way, through a phone call, there were no letters, there was no envelopes or information for the inmates to contact their lawyers, because that's supposed to be separate. And so through a phone call to your office, by the way, it happened the next day. But how long have they been without that? They don't get to go to court anymore. So if we would just do little things like that and oversee our agencies and maybe kind of fine-tune where the money comes from, we would have more money to make sure we don't flood downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. All right, board, that was our last speaker.
All right, I move the item.
Second.
I'm excited for my friends in Century.
Yes. Sorry, did we have a second on that? We did?
Yeah, second.
Okay, perfect. 29 passes 4-0. Commissioner May off the dais.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have an issue for 30 to 40. I have a question about 41.
Okay.
If there's no other questions, I'd move 30 to 40.
Second.
All right, 30 to 40. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. 30 through 40, so 41, yes, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my question about this is not necessarily about the coverage or anything, but the funding source. We could use ECAP money to pay for this, and we have, one of the, by the board taking the action a few years ago to bring, to terminate the contract with First Transit, bring it in-house. We do have funds in Fund 104. Don't you think it'd be appropriate to pay for 104, have 104 pay for this? It alleviates a little bit of the pressure off of 501, which is experiencing a lot of pressure with our health insurance issues and those things. If there's not, if nobody objects, that would be my amended motion.
Second.
Yep. And it's a singular, it's the only department that it covers, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are funds in 104 to pay for it.
Perfect. All right, so let's do the motion with item 41, with changing the funds from 104.
All right, we may have to do some type of booking something over from the CARES where we've run positive cash flow the last 2 fiscal years net in there, regardless of what the budget looks like. We've been able to book reserves, but there's also still the CARES money that's sitting there.
Sure.
So this is a fraction of that.
All right. Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. 42. Board, this is a substantial increase over what we'd seen before. We did, as the county side, put in a lot of protective measures. Let's see, I don't know, I saw him in here earlier. Bart, are you in here? Okay. And Mark's not here? Mark's not, okay. I'd say unfortunately this is where the market's headed. We had gotten a really good deal for a couple years of $5 million in coverage for, I think we were about 35,000. Hey, Bart.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, we're on cyber insurance.
Okay.
Have you been involved with this? Mark's out, so I didn't know how involved you were in this.
So not in the details of the actual any negotiations. The only thing I've been on is we filled out a spreadsheet that they asked a bunch of questions. I didn't realize it was coming before, because the way I thought is it before the board? I did not know that.
Yes, sir.
So I don't know any details other than.
But we put in a lot of protective measures and.
Oh, yes.
I know you've been on calls before where
Oh,
they've
yeah.
said, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z or else, we may not even quote you.
Correct.
So we did a lot of that.
Yes, sir.
In the last year, 2 years, to do that. But I would say from your point of view, though, that the risk to the county has not decreased any, even though we put those protective measures in.
The risk is the risk of, we have a good foundation, but the perpetrators, the risk has escalated immensely since we've done everything we've been trying to do, and we continue to fight every day.
Okay. Commissioner Underhill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I'm hearing correctly, our IT director was not aware that this item was going to be in front of us today.
I did not know that.
Does that mean
I
that you?
missed that one.
Okay, does that mean that you have not had a chance to read this, the policy?
I have not. The last
Okay.
I talked to Mark, we were I thought we were going back out to kind of go, pitch some other guys against each other, so I did not realize it was on today.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, if I may, there's a whole lot of things that we have to do in order to get a policy. There's an even longer list of things you have to have done in order to get a payout. I've seen many of these policies that are so intense in those things that you're going to find yourself, you essentially don't have a policy. I am not saying that's what's going on with this one, but before I think that it would be appropriate for this board to vote on a policy, I would want my IT director to be able to stand there and say, this policy is in sync with what we're doing, and we believe that we're covering down on all the limitations. So for that reason, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we drop this item and bring it back when the IT director has had the opportunity to weigh in and have an opinion.
And if I may, one thing, just to clarify, I do want to say that I have been on several calls with Mark, with CSI. We've actually met with their cybersecurity guru, went through a long laundry list of things that we had to go and make sure, to Commissioner Underhill's comments, that we were doing this, and that. There were a couple of things that they said, hey, we need you multi-factor authentication for remote VPN. That's a requirement now for CSI. So we are in the process right now. We already had it in the plans, but we were in that process. So those are the things I know we've done, but I did not get to review the final one. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay, and Bart, I want to make sure understand. I know that you're working it. I know that you're working through it. But this is the kind of thing that when it comes to us, I need to hear from you straight to me. This is the right thing for us and our network the way it is right now. So
I understand.
Motion stands. Motion to drop stands.
All right, is there a second?
Commissioner May, second.
Second.
Okay. Please vote.
Thank you, Bart. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Motion passes 5-0. 43. Do we want to take a group of them now, board, or?
Mr. Chairman, I have some of the questions I asked earlier relate to these as well, but there's no reason to rehash that. I don't have any issues with the rest of the budget and finance.
Move the balance.
Second.
All right, so we're moving the remaining balance. All right, please vote. The remaining balance passes 5-0. CAR 3-1, recommendation concerning the Director of Facilities, Minister Moreno.
Yes, Commissioners, I'm bringing for your ratification the hiring of Mr. Rob Hogan for our Facilities Management Director. He brings more than 24 years of management experience and more than 20 years of progressive facility management and construction experience. He's most recently served as the Director of Facilities and Interim Director of Purchasing for Union County College in Cranford, New Jersey since 2016, and his first day will be September 28th.
Move the item in the affirmative.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Wes, item 2.
I'm excited about this one. This is for John Robinson, appointing him as the director of our Animal Services Department, and I can't think of a better candidate for that job. He is absolutely an expert in that field, and he has more than proven himself through several situations. And I bring that to you for your ratification.
No, I'll move the item in the affirmative.
Second.
Please vote.
Yep, congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I just want to say, again, I talked about Michael Rhodes earlier, and John Robinson's another one. I've had a few intricate issues with animal problems in my district, and he jumps right in and immediately is responsive to constituents. One of them was on an issue with, restraining dogs. Another issue was very recently with the tagging, and he's very responsive, and I greatly appreciated it. So congratulations on your promotion. Well-deserved. Thank you.
And that passed 5-0. We've already taken up 3. Madam Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm dropping item number 2. The only item remaining is to officially schedule your joint school board meetings for redistricting. The first one will be October the 5th.
And before we vote on this, I just want to point it out, in speaking with my counterparts in District 1, Kevin Adams will be in South Florida for a school board function. He wants to zoom into that meeting. Is there any issue with that?
There are some issues with it, but they're not insurmountable, so we can work with the school board attorney and get.
And that's more of a workshop than a meeting, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a meeting where we will take action.
Right, you won't be taking official action, you will not be voting at that
Okay.
meeting.
I mean, otherwise, Mr. Chairman, I would want to reschedule because Kevin wants to participate. There's some important equities, I'll use that word, that he wants to protect in his portion of
And Jeff, I
District
agree
1.
that everybody has to be present because we need to do
Yeah.
that publicly and hit it one time, so.
Right,
if-
so.
If he can't come, I'll support you in rescheduling.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to be here, but as long as he can be here from Zoom and participate in the meeting and that's not an issue, then
He can-
I'll go forward with it.
Right, I'll get with Ms. Odom, their attorney, so she can walk through with him what he needs to do.
Okay, all right. Sounds good to me.
All right. This is a motion.
Do we have one? I move the county attorney's report dropping 2, moving item 1.
And-
Second.
Madam Attorney, Mr. Stafford will be presenting and have the
That's the plan.
maps and all those things.
Yes, in fact, that's part of why it got rescheduled to October the 5th, is to ensure that he could be present.
This is what I had asked originally, that we do the last week of September.
He wasn't available
He
that
wasn't
week.
available, and the school board had, so we ended up going with
And
this
our
week.
meeting will be when, Robert? We'll have a
October-
meeting October 6th.
October 5th will be our joint meeting with, the first joint meeting with the school board.
And then we're
It's
October
more like a
7th.
workshop.
Right on.
And then we have a regular BCC meeting 2 days later.
Okay.
And for the record, I'm not going to be at that meeting on the 7th. I'm not going to be here.
Okay,
No problem.
all right. Yes.
That week is World Finals of jet ski racing, and I have a son who is qualified for World Finals, so we're going to be in Lake Havasu, Arizona. Hopefully, we brought home a number 2 last time we went. Hopefully, it'll be number 1 this time. But I too will not be at that meeting, so it might be wise that you're down to 3 there if you wanted to reschedule that one.
Yeah, since we're talking, let's do that, because I will be out of pocket. I won't even be able to Zoom in if it was necessary. So can we combine that? Perhaps I will be returning to the country on the 13th.
And Mr. Chairman, I personally apologize. I try to make sure that the staff knows these things ahead of time, but I apologize. I know that makes it hard to do your job.
When's our following committee of the whole meeting?
The 14th.
Let's go to the 14th then.
You want to bump that one?
Bump the committee of the whole and make it a board meeting.
Make it a board meeting, just add it all together?
Yeah, just, committee of the whole, just be a workshop anyway, it's still the
All
14th.
right, so, board, that is, I mean, we have pushed a number of items, again, just recalling, we have pushed a number of items to that date today.
Say what?
It'll still work out.
Okay.
I mean, things have
we'll
a
make it
way
work.
of things have a
Just-
way of just working
Yep.
themselves out. It'll work
Okay.
out. It's
We're going
fine.
to combine it on the 14th, so we can all be here.
So, Madam Attorney, so that is typically our evening meeting, so I'm sure some notices and things like that have already gone
Yeah.
out.
I'm not sure what is scheduled at the moment for the growth management report for that evening, so
We
I-
just voted on the agenda. I would doubt any
it wasn't,
notices
there
have
wasn't
gone
much
out.
on there.
Yeah, but I mean, even the consent agenda, we just voted on, so I wouldn't think any notices have gone out.
So-
Did we have-
Rob, if you want to have the meeting, I'll be here. If that's what you're trying to do.
No, I'm just saying, are we looking at having committee of the whole in the morning and then having the evening meeting?
No, I just want to do it one. I'm just combining them. No, I'm not going to do that.
If you want to meet on the 7th, it's fine with me.
I mean, you just want to do it on the 7th, but I mean, I'm good on the
fine with
14th.
I mean, I wouldn't show difference to the 2 members that wouldn't be here. My concern is if we're having any hearings and things like that, that we need to have an evening meeting, if we need to have that.
Jeff, what do you want?
Well, I think it might make sense to do a workshop, maybe starting at 2 o'clock on the 14th, or 3 o'clock, whatever the case might be, depending upon what all we got to bring to the committee of the whole, and then start our meeting at 5. if necessary, to comport with any advertisement that's been put out. If not,
Or limit us to each talking 2 minutes and not ramble and go ahead and get the meeting over
I mean,
with.
I think anything could happen. Mr. Chairman, anything could happen. You know, someone could have a flat tire, there could be an issue with anything could happen. If there's only 3 of us, I mean, if the 2 of us are out of the area.
Right,
I just think it makes sense to do.
I have no issue with moving. I'm just trying to figure out what we want to move it to on the 14th. Do we want to have a committee of the whole in the afternoon and then go into the evening?
That's fine with me.
What's the purpose, I mean, what's on the agenda for the committee of the whole?
I believe we have, Wes, do you have anything else on there? So
How about we just scrap that?
Just scrap, there's nothing on it right
have a
now, so
meeting.
just scrap it.
We had
Public forum at 4:30.
discussed having there was a group that wanted to come in and have us discuss the elected or.
No, I mean, that's,
They can come at 4:30. You're talking about
well,
the.
no,
the-
that's
the-
not time sensitive. He can come to the next committee.
Yeah, he
of
can
the
come
whole.
later.
All right, so we'll move it to the November meeting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
he can
So we're
come
gonna,
to November.
so the motion will be, we'll scrap the committee of the whole that day, and then have a regular meeting that would have
Public
been on the
forum
7th.
Because that'll be our first meeting
Business
in
meeting at
October,
5:30.
right?
Yeah.
And then we'll have another
Yeah.
meeting in
Board-
October?
So we will not do agenda review in the morning?
No.
Okay, so we'll just have
Just the
public
afternoon.
forum at 4:30
Yeah.
with a meeting at 5:30.
Yep,
Right.
that's my
And
motion.
then our next meeting in October will be when? That'll be a morning meeting or afternoon?
That'd be the morning meeting of the following week.
It'll just be 1 week after.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. So we'll have an afternoon meeting and then a morning meeting.
Do we need to
And
vote on that?
Whatever we had on the committee of the
I
whole.
don't think we need to
can go
vote on it, we'll just adjust it, so we'll go through
And
everything.
then whatever, committee of the whole, just go to November.
No, I appreciate that, guys. I think
No,
that makes sense.
Listen,
Since we'll be out of
you
it.
should go first with your children. I mean, you know what? If
Absolutely.
LJ has a basketball game, that's where I'm gonna be.
Absolutely.
All right.
There's too many of my daughter's games.
We'll distribute that and get it to the appropriate entities, so with that, anything else for the good of the whole?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there was a motion and a second. Did you want to vote on that, or are you just sending?
we
it?
I move my motion. We don't need to vote on it.
All right, thank you so much.